I know. Might have to.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order here. This meeting of the DeKalb County Council, Wednesday, February 14th, 2024 is now in session. If you bow your heads, please, for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to gather today. And we ask for your strength and wisdom and guidance as we do the business before us for the people of DeKalb County, and that not only impacts today, but the future generations out. And Lord, may we never lose sight of the fact that on our worst day going, if we can imagine, we're still doing better than about 90% of the world on their best day. So we thank you, Lord, for everything, for the opportunity to be here, another day of life, and do everything we can to make this a great, productive day. We ask for this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
A couple of things here that I guess I'd call housekeeping before we get started. But people's voices tend to either get drowned out or people are made to feel inferior, and it's not going to happen. And I just want to read a couple things here that I firmly believe in here, that every voice is important. No one council member's voice is stronger than any other's. No one from the council or audience is to feel intimidated or ever feel that their opinion doesn't count. Everyone's comments are important as they may provide a missing piece of information that was never considered, and that missing piece of information may change a vote. So everybody's input is extremely important here. Time limits may be imposed on comments, but that's not to weaken a stance. It's just strictly because of time limitations. When addressing the council, just please state your name and your address and proceed with your delivery. If we get to time restraints and if you want to talk about your background, that's up to you. But you remember, you're doing your constituents a disservice by spending time talking about you rather than addressing the topic. That's your call. But the minimum is please state your name and address. And then for all, no surprises, no blindsiding, no belittling. We don't want anybody to feel they're being blindsided, intimidated, or anything. And we want to be above board and transparent. And this is me. This is the way I operate, and everybody's voice is important. No one voice stands out any more than another, and I want this, especially for the council here, that everybody's voice is important because you're representing a group of people, and please keep that in mind there. And the belittling, blindsiding and stuff, that goes for the audience, from the audience to the council, council to the audience, and the commissioners as well. So we may not always agree on something, but when we walk out of here, there's no reason we still can't be friends. So that's me on that. Anybody got any questions? The other thing is, I had a constituent here a couple of weeks ago ask about what is the county's policy on conflict of interest. And I called Don Stuckey, and we do not have a county policy regarding conflict of interest. But what we do use is we use the state's policy that for elected governmental officials on conflict of interest. And I've given everybody a copy of it here. Susan has been gracious enough. You've put it on our website. And where else, Susan? Okay. So in answer to the question, we do have a conflict of interest policy. It's the one that's followed by the state for elected government officials there. And thank you, Don, for getting back right away on that. You did a good job on getting that information there. So thank you. Okay. You have before you the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? Do we have a motion for? Okay, we have a motion to approve by Rick Ring. Do we have a second? Second by Bob Kraft. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. We have additionals. you have before you additionals. We have several of them here, and we will do some explaining on a couple of them here. The first one is for elections. This is from Holly. We talked about it the last time. This is for $3,650. This was for to purchase, let me read the appropriation request. It's for the election board from County General Fund 1001, account number 44430. Was this included in the annual budget? No, because you didn't know until November that was going to need to replace the hot springs to meet security standards. How will this appropriation be used? To purchase cradle points for the Wi-Fi connecting for the e-poll books at the vote centers. Specific cost of the item, $365 for each cradle point times 10. How was this cost determined? Invoice quote. Is this a recurring expense? No. Will other expenses be necessary? No. Was it discussed with the liaison? Yes, and that was Amy Dembski. So we talked about this last time. This was just basically an unfunded mandate from the state that she was going to have these security updates there. So Holly is requesting $3,650. Are there any questions or discussion on this?
Is this a guaranteed quote? Is this quote still good? Yes. Okay.
Anybody else?
And what was the reason that we had to do this? It's not an unfunded mandate. I believe there was yeah.
Basically, it was just, we have to have Wi-Fi to connect our poll books. We had been using Sprint hotspots. They really didn't meet the new standards for cybersecurity. So Jack and I talked, and Cradle Points meet that with the security and the VPN and all of that. So it's just, an upgrade for cybersecurity, all that stuff we hear about and stuff like that.
But there was no money came with this from the state, though.
No, I mean, we'd had internet. We'd already been paying for our hotspots. It's just they didn't meet the new standards, so we just kind of needed to upgrade. Like technology, you have to upgrade every now and often with laptops and computers.
Any other questions for Holly? Thank you, Holly.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Bob Kraft. Do we have a second? Second by Amy Dembski. All those in favor of transferring or an additional of $3,650 for elections signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That transfer request or that additional is approved. The second one to come before you is from Superior Court 1. And you have in your packet there the information for this. It's rather lengthy. Bottom line is, we talked about this last month. This is for the trial for Trooper Bailey that was killed out on I-69 here. And we knew there were going to be additional expenses, and they're requesting of $50,000. $20,000 is right now to be used for mitigating officials to come in. This is basically for competency and the testing that they do. And then the additional will be put back in reserve for additional expenses, and there probably will be additional expenses coming. If it comes to trial and it's resolved before, then that money will revert back to the general fund here. But the request is for $50,000, and this is not a surprise. We knew we were going to have to come up with money for that. So any questions, any comments on this? Do I have a motion to approve? We have a motion to approve from Amy Prosser. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Bob Kraft.
I have a quick question. How does that, if they do play it out and settle it in advance, what's the process for that money coming back in? Maybe Susan, do we have to request that, or does the courts automatically send that back to us for general budget?
It just won't be spent, so it'll remain as unspent appropriation at the end of the year.
But
and
will it be in their account that they could spend it?
They could, but I watch the transfers.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfer is approved for $50,000. The next one is from the Change Academy. They're on a fiscal year budget that ends on June 30th. Susan, these expenditures are what is left between now and June 30th?
Yes. Yep. Usually, they're done as an encumbrance in our year-end encumbrances. But I had missed them and I hadn't received a letter from the department, so they are going in as an additional appropriation just to get them till June, the end of June.
Okay. I want to read the additional request here. It's from the JCC Change Academy, fiscal year '24 Juvenile School Fund number 4116, location 0913. The amount requested is $67,734.89. Juvenile is on a fiscal year, so we need to appropriate budgeted leftover funds from 12/31/23 to carry over for 2024. Was this included in the annual budget request? Yes. How will this appropriation be used? It will be used for wages, Social Security, supplies, incentives, telecom, liability insurance, utilities, equipment lease, et cetera. Is this a reoccurring expense? Yes. Excuse me. Will other expenditures be necessary? No. Was it discussed with the liaison? That was yes, and Amy Dembski. So, did we have a motion on this one?
No, not yet.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this transfer additional for $67,734.89?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Bill Van Wy, a second? Second, Amy Dembski. All those in favor signify by saying, yes. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Before you make a
Thank you. Do we have any comments, first of all, from the council or the public on this?
Just to verify, this is just basically a bookkeeping thing to transfer last year's money over to this year.
Yeah, since they're still on the fiscal grant cycle of a July to June. If we didn't do this, then it would show every single one of these accounts as negative from January to June for the end of their.
Now, we can go through each one of the line items, or we can do this in all in one. So do we have a consensus to do these as one here with motion?
That's fine with me.
Okay, all those in favor of transfer additional of $67,734.89 to the Change Academy, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next, we have a state grant. Let me find this here. For $51,168.43. This is from the JCC Change Academy fiscal year '24. It's the IDOC. And I'm not big on acronyms. Anybody want to tell me IDOC, Indiana Department of Corrections?
Yes.
And whenever we have a something like this here, we'll always try to explain what the acronym is here, because sometimes I'm not real clear on it myself. So thank you. The amount requested, $51,168.43 from Fund 9128. Location number is 0913. Juvenile is on a fiscal year, so we need to appropriate budgeted leftover funds from 12/31/23 to carry over to 2024. Was this included in the annual budget? Yes. How will this appropriation be used? It'll be used for wages, Social Security, utility, equipment, lease, building, lease. Is this a recurring expense? Yes. Was it discussed with the liaison? Yes, that's Amy Dembski. And any other future expenditures necessary? The answer to that is no. So this is, and this money, Susan, is coming from,
Their state grants.
this is coming from the state grant.
Yeah.
Do we have do we have consensus from the council to do these all as one? Okay. Do we have a motion for approval for $51,168.43, an additional, which will be coming from their grant for the Change Academy? Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion by Amy Prosser. Do we have a second? Rick Collins? Thank you. Did you make the second? Yes. Okay. Do we have any comments from the public or from the council? Okay, we'll go ahead and proceed to vote. All those in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfer is granted. The next one is from the probation department, and this is for $182,709. It's from the fund is the Problem Solving Court Grant, the ATC, and I don't know what ATC is.
So, addiction treatment court.
Okay?
Yeah, we'll see what we can, we shorten them to save room. And this one, if you don't mind, do you care if I explain?
No, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So on this one, we have had this grant prior. We normally only get like $10,000 or something around there. And so at budget time, we budgeted the approval for the 10,000. But this year, they decided to give more money, and so now we needed to budget the additional 182,709 because they gave us more grant money to be able to use. So that's why this is coming as an additional, because we did not know about that money until after budgets were already done.
But the money's there, or going to be there.
Yeah.
Consensus from the council to handle these in one motion?
That's fine.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve? Okay, we have a motion by Rick Collins. Do we have a second? Second by Amy Dembski. Any discussion from the council? Yes.
This is a question for Susan, I guess. Does this authorize an additional employee in probation, or does this
I forget. We've done so many different changes, I don't remember.
Good morning, Ryan Hall from Probation Department. For your question, Councilman Ring, this grant covers for a new probation officer, an existing probation officer, and 20% of my salary.
all of those funds for the existing are will replace that, so that money will still be in the budget.
So that was
Yeah.
correct, from county general.
But this
Yes.
will cover the new officer and 20% of your salary then?
Yes, as well as drug screens, travel training, incentives, and so forth.
Do we know how long the state plans on to continue to provide these extra funds?
They just opened up the grant for 2025, and it's due April 12th.
Okay,
So that is, they're continuing with the grants, or with the state's budget increase for problem-solving courts last year by a couple $1 million. That's when they opened up, that's when they lifted the $10,000 cap for this grant specifically, and that is why we were able to get the $192,000.
I do know that the commissioners have had a discussion in the past about funding of positions with, that have funding coming from grants, that if the grants go away, the position goes away. That people understand that we're not locked into keeping those positions. But at least Brian's salary is currently in there, and one of the existing people is already in there, so that much is good.
Absolutely.
So,
There's a
good points, Rick.
possibility
Thanks.
then that the 25 grant that you applied for, you won't know about that until early 25? Or will they grant that before the end of this fiscal year?
Last year, or for 2024's grants, this one came in late, so that's why we weren't notified until December 5th.
Right.
But the Veterans Court and the Family Restoration Court, we were notified, I think, in October. So they take several months. In the past, they've had a separate Veterans Court grant, Family Restoration Court grant, and then a separate Problem-Solving Court grant. This year, they've limited it to just 3, or just one grant process, so we're not going to have an extra 10,000 here, 10,000 there. So this is the one time, and that's what we're shooting for. And I did ask regarding limits in the future as well. I asked regarding if they've put limits, because I've always put caps on in the past. And they said right now they're not putting any limits on it. It's just whatever we can justify.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And it's my understanding, having attended several of the graduation ceremonies, that we are having great success with all three problem-solving courts, and success that we were not having previously.
Absolutely.
How do you define success?
You asked me this in the past, and everybody's definition of success is different.
Yep.
The state considers it recidivism rate 3 years after the graduation. Right now, we've had some individuals that do get rearrested. Specifically, right during COVID is when we had a lot of those. People were getting rearrested shortly after graduation. And right now, they've revamped that process again, and now they won't even look at it until 3 years post-graduation. So we don't even know what that success that they're talking about. But when you're looking at graduates, individuals that come into the program and successfully graduate, Family Restoration Court, I believe we've had only 2 or 3 terminations. Veterans Court has had 2 terminations. Addictions Treatment Court, because that volume is larger, we've had a couple more than those other courts. But when you're looking at totality of those situations, I would assume, without having the numbers, I'm in the process of running our state report right now. I would assume it's anywhere between 75 and 80% success rate right now when you're looking at all 3 problem solving.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ryan,
Yes, sir.
thanks very much for staying on top of it and getting this extra funding for us. Appreciate you getting more money coming into the county from the state to help our budget. Thanks.
Absolutely, most definitely. If I may comment on that part, between the 3 grants, my salary has helped alleviate money from both the county general and the alcohol and drug program. So up to 60% of my salary is now grant funded. That the money is there available for in county general or the A&D fund if that money goes away. But I've been able to supplement it with this funding because of my schedule has been just taken away from the A&D program because of the problem solving. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ryan? Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the $58,412. I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying.
What'd you say? Oh, you made it say the wrong amount.
182,709.
Say,
The 180,
Oh, the 182,
182,
I'm sorry, 709. I'm sorry, because we do have 3 more like similar. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the $182,709. Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Good questions from the council on that. Thank you. Okay, the next one is the SIM, and the SIM is what, Susan?
Mike? I don't remember that one.
Good morning, sir.
What does SIMS, the acronym, stand for?
It's actually a dual grant. DeKalb, which is the sequential intercept model.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody remember that now.
That's why I don't know.
Will you repeat that?
What we're here for is to request the ability to just receive the money. We requested a grant, we requested a position in our standard budget for what's called a probation officer assistant. Much of the things that Ryan has been able to do through the state, what we've been able to do through Indiana Department of Corrections, but one thing they never do is provide us support staff. We've done is grow. Through the grant process, through IDOC, but one thing they never really help us out with, so I'm continuously asking my support staff to do more. Okay. The other thing we have is an intention of making a very quick transition for our department and having educated, ready to go staff. Not wanting to go through the internship process. With. So what we have is the probation officers that come in, that learn our process, that become the support staff for those programs downstairs. Of extra cleanup work for us. So we wanted those. We already have one that led to another an opening in an officer position. Seamless transition. has a degree is ready to go. I just turn around and does what we have. Our first position was made. Well, I wanted to make sure. But in the meantime, I found as I described or the sim grant. My only intention of that is for us to sit down and build all the way through the county. How they move through our entire. Sorry. That brings
Thank you.
Everybody inside this county that would have contact with them together and draws a gigantic map of how they meet them, what resources they have, what they do, so that we can make sure that we treat those individuals appropriately. Myself and before even beginning the project, myself and Ms. Fosnaugh had some resources from a couple of the counties. One of them, once printed out, would take up that entire wall. So it is a large project, but through our partnership with a group that has created the CIT program, which hopefully you guys have all heard about. There's a bunch of officers, including probation officers, taking this entire week in training. It's crisis intervention, okay? 40 plus hours. We're hoping that it will get, you will get a ton of information on that. Obviously, their graduation, I'm hoping you're all invited to that as well to take a look at what they've done. Part of that, we got a line on someone who provides SIM, who will come in, sit down with everybody, and walk us all the way through the program. So knowing that that was coming, seeing that grant, to me, already having the position approved by yourselves, it felt like free money. We already knew we were going to do the SIM. We already have people in contact with them. We're on the list to be set up to begin it. So ultimately, all I have to do is prove to the state that we were working towards that. And so I send them emails and proof. Ultimately, the $58,000 that we have pays the entire salary, pays for equipment, which we've used already, pays for fringe, and then has a significant portion set across for training. We have that position already hired. Ms. Kohler, with a degree, has an extensive amount of experience. And whether you remember or not, she was a prior employee for community corrections. So it was awesome for us. We're sitting down. She's been able to walk right into the position that we have and be an asset. So for us, it was really making sure that though you gave us the opportunity just to pay that at a general, we're always doing what we can to make sure that if we can offset those costs of the county, we're going to do that. It is a grant that has the possibility of being cyclical, although Indiana Office of Court Services won't know, because the federal government makes that decision, gives it to them, then they give us opportunity. But since we're already a part of it, my hope is that it will continue. Not very many people really apply for it. To be honest, the first year it was offered, I got it. But the SIM by itself, without any help, was just an unmanageable process. So it would have been something we had to add on, get everybody's involvement. And with a short period of time on getting the grant, not being able to guarantee everybody was going to come to the table, I didn't want to put us in a position to make a promise we couldn't come up with. But now everybody's at the table, everybody's ready to go, and we're already scheduled or on the schedule to be a part of SIM. So it should be pretty easy for us to complete the requirements of the grant.
Thank you, Michael. Does anybody else have any questions?
Michael should be congratulated. A large portion, if not 50% or more of the county general fund goes to law enforcement and the justice system. And, with his department salaries are mandated by the state as to what we pay, and he has made every effort he can to help offset that amount that we're paying out of the general fund. And that justice system includes the clerk's office, the jail, the sheriff's department, probation, public defender, right down the line. That is the largest share of our general fund. And so anything he can do to help offset that general fund is greatly appreciated. So thank you, Michael.
You've done a great job on going after grants. I know we've talked several times about the different ones that you pursued, and you've been very, very diligent and good on that, Michael.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Any other questions? We have a motion on this one? Need a motion to approve the $58,412 for the Justice Partners, SIM Justice Partners additional. And again, this is grant money that will be or is coming, so.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Rick Collins. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bob Kraft. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. The last two, this one is, the next one is on the probation, the vet court, and it's Fund 9159. The location is 0029. The amount requested is $10,000. It is 2024 Veterans Treatment Court, Problem Solving Court Grant, Indiana Office of Court Services. Was this included in the annual budget? The answer is no. It's a new grant request. How will this appropriation be used for? It'll be used for drug testing, travel, training, and education. Is this a reoccurring expense? No. Will other expenditures be necessary? No. And discuss with the liaison, Dave Yard. Again, this, Susan, this is money either coming or will be coming on this year. Is
Both this one and the next one that you're going to look at, the Family Restoration Court, those are two new grants. We have grants with those names. These are new grants on top of what we already have.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion for approval on the $10,000 for the probation vet court?
So move.
Motion by Bill Van Wy. Do we have a second? Second by Amy Prosser. Any further discussion? If not, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion of the transfer of, or the additional of $10,000 for the probation vet court signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfer, or the additional is approved there. And the last one, again, Susan has already pretty much touched on it here. It's from the Probation Family Restoration Court for $10,000 from Fund 9160, location 0029. It is for the 2024 Family Restoration Court, Problem Solving Court Grant, Indiana Office of Court Services. Was this included in the annual budget? And the answer is no. It's a new grant request. How will this appropriation be used? It'll be used for, drug testing and travel, training, education. Is this a reoccurring expense? The answer is no. Will other expenditures be necessary? No. Was it discussed with the liaison? Yes, and that was Dave Yard, me. So $10,000, the money is either here or coming. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Bob Kraft. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Bill Van Wy. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll call for the question. Those in favor of the additional of $10,000 for the Probation Family Restoration Court signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That additional has been approved there. That takes care of, just one second. That takes care of our additionals. We do have some transfers that will need the council's attention here. And yeah, before you on the a list of the transfers. And the first one is from Local Public Health Services for $25,000 and $25,012.01. LPHS is Don't mean to put you on the spot, Susan, there, so.
Local public health services, that's the
Local-
new health funding.
Okay, thank you. And it is from Fund 1161. The location is 0500. Why is this transfer needed? When the original budget was submitted, we did not know all the partners we would work with through the HIF funding, or the HFI funding, I'm sorry. Since then, we established several additional partners. We were also given more specific guidelines from the state on how to compensate for the projected reach of each partner. Will additional appropriation be requested due to this transfer? No is the answer. Was it discussed with the liaison? That was yes, with Bill Van Wy. And does the council need me to read through each one of these here on these? What's your pleasure? No? Can we handle this in one motion? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the transfers for $25,012.01 from the local public health services?
So move.
We have a motion by Bill Van Wy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Rick Ring. Any further discussion?
Can you turn your mic on, please?
Yeah, so there was, I just had some questions about moving funds from the purchase of vehicles, and I think maybe it's just a larger question of how these funds, why these funds are being moved around.
So I will probably be able to explain this easiest. When we originally did budgets, we had planned for the what ifs, like what it could be possible we needed to purchase a vehicle we might not be able to, it depended. We had money in those funds, so we had, and you're gonna see those in the next two fund transfers also. So when the transfers needed to change, there's more money, there's money that is in that fund, but instead of doing an additional appropriation first, since we don't know that we're truly going to need to buy a vehicle, then I had them do the transfers because we already had money approved. Then later in the year, if it comes down to it that vehicle does need to be purchased, then we will do an additional appropriation. But by transferring it and not doing additional appropriation is not costing the county money to advertise for those additionals when we already have appropriations approved to spend. Does that help?
Part of the explanation was that we now have some contractors we didn't know we had before. Is Cheryl here that she can tell us who those new contractors are?
You gotta come up, Cheryl. So we added to, we have Children's First on here. Summer two, that's the only one we have in there. Then we have the grant management contractor, the mental health fund, and drug-free.
Yes. We also, and prior we had St. Martin's, Parkview, the Y. I'm sorry, I didn't have that list with me.
And the contract management person was actually in here, wasn't she, back last year?
Last
Yeah.
year,
And
at
spoke
the
with
end
us.
of the year, we paid for her out of the 1159. And then this year, we put her into this fund, the 1161. And that's where she'll be paid from now on. Yes. We've, I think we almost doubled the amount of partners we had since we put that budget in originally. We still work through the end of the year to get more people on board. So we had to make adjustments to cover for that. Also, the school liaison, I had put in the top salary because I didn't know exactly the experience and that type of thing for this person. And there was money left over. So I used that also to help fund the section for the new partners. So hopefully there won't be, if there's any other transfers, I don't think that they're going to be major. And now that we kind of have a base set, it'll be much more clean next year. In fact, I've already talked to Susan. We've made a timeline to try to make sure we're hitting you, the council, the board with our new funding request, and keep everybody on time with their meetings and things of that sort. So I think this year will be better.
You guys remember there was a very short time that she had to turn around to get her requests put in. So we had to get the money shown somewhere so that we could account for it. And now that things have come back out, we now are transferring it to the correct account numbers, to be able to pay them.
Well, this is gonna work kind of like when we started community correction out there. It's gonna take a year,
Or
a year
more.
and a half, 2 years, to get all our budgets straight in. We're just transferring money, so as Susan and me talk, because we had to pay some bills and spend some money before the state got upset with us and everything, and it was easier, as Susan and me talked, to transfer the money so we didn't have to go through and then if we have to come back and they have to buy a pickup, so be it. We have one addition, so we don't have the lot, instead of moving money around.
Right.
So we have to give her a grace period here while she tries to figure everything out, so,
That was, they had to move rather quickly, and
yeah.
wasn't as easy to plan, and it sounds like between the department and Susan, the plans are being developed, and we'll have a process we'll all be clear on for next year. A very good job.
It'll be this year for next year.
Yes, it will be this year.
Yes. The other thing is, I told Susan, we just received word that the paperwork for this funding will be in any time. And actually, the opt-in date will be May 31st. So that is going to make a huge difference also for us. So I feel like we're on it. We're going to make a plan, let Susan see our timeline and adjust it accordingly. I think it'll be better this year. So.
Thank
To
you.
explain, I just had another question. On here, it says that you were planning to use this account for large purchases, but were really recently told by the state to spend the grant down and close out the account as soon as possible. I'm not sure what that means. Can you just explain that?
And that is the 1206 and the 1168.
Okay.
And what that is about is, they told us we wouldn't be getting any more funding into those accounts because of, they're just not going to fund them anymore. They're going to have us get this HFI funding. So we, in the past, have used those two grants to purchase vehicles and vaccine equipment, things that are really pricey. So I was just thinking of having them as available in the future when something came up. But then, the beginning of this year, they sent out a message that they wanted us to spend those grants down to close them out so that they don't have to do paperwork and the auditor does not. So then I had to, and the issue is with those two grants, once you funded something, if you funded something from another source, you can't ever pay it in that grant. So the best thing for me to do was just to establish line items on things that I've used them for in the past, because we still have the same programs. So basically what you're looking at is what we had in plans to spend in years past. And that is the quickest way that I can get rid of them. And I'll still use them for vehicles. We have a couple that'll be due in the next, possibly this year and maybe a year or so later. But we are going to continue to fund programs that we've already been funding with them before. It was a surprise.
You said they were phasing out that particular grant and asking you to move those expenses to this new health grant. Is that what I
Yeah,
understand?
originally they said they wanted us to move all the expenses out. So we sat with Susan and moved them from those two grants and put them into the new funding and the 1159. And like I said, I just planned on keeping them for big purchases. I thought I would put in a request for the state whenever we had something big that we needed.
Prior to opting into the new funding, we would get money from the state for the 1168, and then the 1206 is the trust fund. We would get a receipt for those. Once we opted in to the new funding, then those receipts are no longer happening. So we only have what we had as cash on hand for those funds. So they're just wanting us to spend them on, I mean, not unnecessarily, but spend them on the things that we've always spent them on, to get rid of them because we're no longer going to be putting money in them and they're just going to sit. But by opting into the new health funding, we end up receiving a lot more funding from the state than what we would have remaining at the other two funds.
It's basically use it or lose it.
We wouldn't have lost it. I think the directive that we had at the beginning of the year to spend them down, they just don't want to deal with the paperwork for 20 years.
I can't say that I blame them. I mean, I would rather, if we're not going to get it, we might as well use it and be done with it.
I agree, and it's less work for me too. So, and the only way I could do it was to refill the lines, because I haven't planned on doing that.
Anybody else have any questions for Cheryl? Thank you, Cheryl. We do have a motion and a second on this.
Dave,
Yes.
I'd be happy to abstain on this vote. I'm not one of the partners voted on here, but the Y is a partner that's related to this. So I can abstain if you'd like.
That's a point well taken, and Bob will abstain on this one there. So, thank you, Bob. So, all those in favor of the transfer for $25,012.01 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfer is carried with one abstention. Okay, the next one is local health maintenance. This is $19,200 is a request for transfer. It is all coming from the purchase of vehicles from 44,610 fund. And let's see. Again, why is the transfer needed? We were planning to use this account for large purchases, but we were recently told by the state to spend the grant down and close out the account as soon as possible. This grant can only be spent of expenses never paid for by a previous funding source. The easiest way to spend the grant now is to re-enter expenses previously covered by this grant. Will additional appropriation be requested due to this transfer? The answer is yes. Was it discussed with the liaison? Yes, and that was Bill Van Wy. Do we have a motion to approve the transfer of $19,200?
So moved.
So Bill, and do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Rick. Any discussion regarding this transfer of $19,200? Okay, we'll call for the question. Those in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfer is granted. The next is $22,000 being transferred from the ILHDA. And guess what I'm going to do, Susan? I'm gonna ask you what-
Indiana Local Health Department Trust Account.
Great job, thank you. There's going to be a test on this for everybody in the audience on all these acronyms when we're done here, so be paying attention. Why is this transfer needed? Again, we are planning to use this account for large purchases, but were recently told by the state to spend the grant down and close out the account as soon as possible. The grant can only be spent for expenses never paid for by a previous funding source. The easiest way to spend down the grant is to re-enter expenses previously covered by the grant. Will additional appropriation be requested due to this transfer? The answer is possibly. Was it discussed with the liaison? And that is yes with Bill Van Wy. Do we have a motion to approve the $22,000 transfer for the ILHDA 1206? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Bill Van Wy. Do we have a second? Second by Amy Dembski. Discussion. Council, any questions from the audience? Okay, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of the $22,000 transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfer is approved. And that is the last of the transfers there. I'm sure we'll have some paperwork coming around to be signed. And while Susan's doing that, we're going to move on to the airport update. Randy Fox.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning.
We're still moving forward with the expansion process at the airport. The changeover from the avgas 5,000 or 6,000 gallon tank or 12,000 gallon tank to Jet A is in process. Keep learning more about this all the time. I would like to say we did appreciate Rick's attendance, Mr. Collins, at our last board meeting. And so that process is going on. They recently received a new 5,000 gallon tank truck. So technically, when all this is done, we'll have 29,000 gallons of Jet A. And these jets are coming in and out on a regular basis, less than we had anticipated due to the fact that our precision approach equipment is still not installed. We've had a couple low visibility days when the jets have had to call off and go and land in Fort Wayne instead of coming home to where they actually live. And that process actually begins the end of this month. They'll start doing the earthwork for the precision approach equipment. They've got to level out. Who would have thought that a radio that you use from an airplane has to have absolutely level ground in front of it, but it does. And so they're going to start the earthwork here toward the end of this month. And then the Malzar lights, we've talked about those before. You see them on the movies all the time where the lights run down toward the runway and the pilots can see them from up. Those all have to be placed. They all have foundations to go in. There's signage, there's lighting that goes along the runway that's all going to be installed yet this summer. We anticipate, FAA says on Halloween, our approach will be published and all of the precision approach equipment at the east end of the runway will all be operational. So basically the pilots can come down and get down, I think, to within 325 feet of the ground. And if they get to there and they can see the runway, they can come down through clouds, fog, rain, you name it, and the precision approach should put them right at the end of the runway and they can land where now they can't. And so that makes a big difference, especially for commercial or charter aircraft, which most of the jets are. We did help with the grant from East Chapel. There's a GoFundMe program out there right now. I looked this morning, there's about $8,400 already dedicated in that GoFundMe with a goal of 25,000. And they've got 41 days left according to the website. If they can get to 25,000, then they get a grant from the state, matching grant for another 25,000, and then they'll pick up the Meese Chapel Church, and it'll be moved just around the corner, basically, to the Horsemen's Association property, and it'll be established there permanently. We did elect board members. I'm still there. And then one of the things that we're looking toward is the future of the runway of the airport. And we really intend to be the jet base, the jet port for Northeast Indiana when this is all done. We will have the longest general aviation runway in the state. We're just north of Fort Wayne, a whole lot less hassle getting in and out. Again, Sweet Aviation has been absolutely phenomenal as our fixed base operator. They bend over backwards to be good to people and helpful. And so we're really looking at a rebranding, shall we say, of the airport. Everybody's torn. We don't want to go away from the DeKalb County Airport because it's what it is. But when people look at, Fort Wayne International, DeKalb County Airport, where do you want to go? We need to give them some incentive to come here. A lot of these places will start calling themselves executive airports or, something else. And so we're looking at a rebranding, and we've hired this Jewel Crown Marketing to do some survey work, give us some insight into what we can do, how we can do it, what we can do to make the airport more, make pilots, make charters look at us first instead of going to other airports. So we're listed as a regional airport. We want to be that. And so in some cases, the naming is going to help make that happen so that our business goes up, our income goes up, our requirement for other funding goes down. Kind of a good thing. As part of the looking at the airport, we also hired an engineer. They're going to do some soil borings on that 72 acres that we own and start looking to see if it's all swamp or if we can actually produce a industrial park. One of the holdouts to that property being utilized for something other than some of it's farmed, but most of it's just overgrowth, is the fact that there was no 440 voltage, 440 power out there. That just came through in the last year and a half. We've got internet, there's sewer, there's water, there's 440 and 72 acres that we own that's sitting unused. We've been told that that property is prime for development for industry. And the FAA actually has a list of airport compatible industries that we could lease the land to, develop the land, and again, that's back income that we, again, don't have to get from other sources. So those two processes are going on right now with the intent that we're going to be reasonably self-sufficient at some point. That's the goal. I don't know how long that's going to take to achieve. We don't really have a deadline for that, but the goal is to make the airport support itself, and we think we can make that happen. I'm open for questions.
I got one, it's just a statement. I think you should call it Crown Jewel Airport of DeKalb County. There you go.
Crown Jewel's already taken, I'm sorry.
Put the, like Ohio State, the Crown Point.
Crown Jewel. And I don't know, I think Crown Jewel is actually going to do some public surveys. That they'll be making random phone calls around the county to ask people what they think, whether they think it needs to be changed. And if it is changed, they're going to, I think, offer some opportunities for names and let people choose and see what they think. And then they'll come back to us because the final decision really goes back to the board. And we'll see what or if we change anything at this point. We just do know that we're going to have a world-class operation. We've got 2 more years really of the airport, the runway extension project. When the precision approach equipment goes in this year, we're applying for the next grant to extend the taxiway, which made no sense to me, but they extended the runway by 2,000 feet, but the taxiway ends at the 5,000-foot line instead of at the 7,000-foot line. So when I used to fly out there, you pulled out onto the runway, you'd get on the radio and said, 043 is back taxiing the act. And I would taxi down to the end of the runway so I could take off into the wind. But you tie up the runway doing that. And right now, that's necessary for the last 2,000 feet of the runway. When the jets take off, they want all 7,005 feet of runway in front of them. So if something goes wrong, they can stop and they don't go across Old County Road 427. And so that's the reason for the extended runway is safety. And so the next project is the extension, the last 2,000 feet of the taxiway, which we're applying for that grant for next year. And then the following year, we would be overlaying the original 5,000 feet of the runway with new asphalt to give us a nice clean surface all the way. Russ and Jason are out there. I don't know if it's on a monthly basis, but they're on a regular basis patching cracks and doing everything they can to maintain that runway surface so it's safe for the aircraft and make it last long enough to get to the final overlay process. So those projects are still on their way, and by the end of that, then we'll have the, like I say, the world-class airport that we want it to be.
The, changing the name of the airport, I've talked to a few people about it, as long as the name of DeKalb stays in that name, whatever they change it to, as long as DeKalb stays
Right.
in that name. But if we can encourage those flights coming in and out of our airport, that is going to increase your revenue. That is going to move you towards being more self-sufficient. And also, I would think that would encourage additional hangars and rent and income coming in from rent. And this taxiway extension is going to be done via a grant.
Yes. Yes, yeah, the FAA will issue that grant. The Bowman, Seifert, and BFNS. Anyway, our engineering company has already got that grant proposed. It's ready. We'll review it and approve them to submit that for the taxiway extension. At this point, we don't see any reason that the FAA won't approve that grant because they've done, up to this point, we have, like I say, 2 sections of this thing left. And the thought that they would stop funding is most of the time they don't. So we're pretty confident that we'll get the funding for the taxiway extension and then the surface overlay the following year.
Any questions for Randy? Thanks,
Just want
Randy.
to say thanks again for allowing me to attend the board meetings. If you haven't attended one, please do. Incredibly high level of professionalism in that room. They work well together. You've been working on a vision out there for 20 years, and it's been a different group of people in the board, and that vision continues to move forward methodically. It drives some people crazy because it's going so slow, but you guys have methodically stayed the course. Yeah, I understand. I would be also. You methodically stayed the course. The people that you have with you, all the way from your legal advisories to your engineers, are at the top level, high professionals, and it's just very impressive how that group operates.
And it's really neat to look back for those of us that are old enough to know when the airport first started and when we first were working on our pilot license there, just single engine landing. That was about all you had out there. I mean, this has evolved into a major airport. It really has. I mean, you're going to gain almost international status here. So you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. Thank you.
Fox Executive Airport.
Oh, there we go. Fox is retired, I'm sorry. Well, no, retired. that makes you free to work for other people for free. That's retirement.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Well played.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you all.
Really appreciate it. Okay, moving on. We're going to move to the council commissioner discussion. And the first piece of business that we have, and you have before you a letter here, and I'm going to read it, and then we'll be discussing this in more detail here. But it's to the DeKalb County Council regarding the ARPA plan change. And ARPA stands for the American Rescue Plan Act, which came about as a result of COVID here. So, and possibility of money that was lost, it's now being put back in. We have received the current ARPA plan and the expenditures that have taken place thus far. There are areas that money is no longer needed, either because we had estimated in excess of what the actual project cost or product cost, or because the money would be better utilized on a different project that has come before us. We feel that we have kept the money in the plans due to the necessity and immediate needs of the county. Below is our proposal to amend the current approved ARPA plan to the following. The commissioners want to remove the following funds: $600,000 from Sunny Meadows additional funding, going to keep $144,152.89 in. We want to remove $500,000 from the DCC solar installation. That's out at Community Corrections, and there's a higher need elsewhere. $425,000 from the drain ditch engineering on Better Track. $50,000 from Baker Tilly fees, no longer anticipating, and $379,989.89 from the county dispatch tower upgrades, and that project is complete, and $100,000 from the courthouse generator. The price is lower than planned. They want to add $1,300,000 to bridge number 17, $150,000 to the St. Joe Sewer Project, and $604 and $989.89 to the jail chiller repair purchase. And the full cost for this is more than this there. Respectfully submitted by DeKalb County Commissioners. I'm prepared to discuss these, but I know we have Commissioner Bill Hartman here. Bill, if you like to come up and explain some of these there, greatly appreciate it there. And we're here to listen to what Bill has to say.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. Beautiful day out there. I'm starting to get used to this global warming. They just bring it on, keep it coming. It's a real joy in my mind. Yeah, we have and I brought Ben Parker in also to give details on where we're at on our bridge fund. And to put it shortly, come 2025, it's going to be just approximately out of money, basically out of money. And that's why and the reason we've had a couple bridges, we've had a couple surprises with some bridges. Bridge number 9 that we had to do last year, that was something that was not on the radar. So, and that bridge come in quite a bit over what it would have previously been in the 2 or 3 years before that. I think it was 1.3, somewhere in that neighborhood. Now we got another bridge number 17. It needs a redecking. It's a really long bridge over the St. Joe River. We didn't anticipate this, but it's kind of going to break the kitty. And so that's why we are wanting to take that bridge expense out of the ARPA funds. Any questions on that? And Ben, if you want to. Yeah.
You're not going to replace that bridge, you're going to just do the decking then,
This is
that
going to be a
correct?
deck replacement.
And basically, was it bridge number 7 or bridge number 9 last year that was unexpected?
Bridge number 9 deteriorated a lot faster than anticipated. And that bridge was on our watch list due to the deterioration of the pilings underneath. But they was wood pilings, extremely exposed. There's no way to get inside and encapsulate them. We anticipated another 8 to 10 years out of that bridge, but unfortunately it did not survive. And it was recommended to do immediate replacement. So from, prior COVID, our engineers' estimates to after COVID almost doubled the price of that bridge. So that's where we're at on concrete, pilings, everything, the cost. That bridge did come up. Bridge 17 has been on our priority schedule. That bridge is 235 feet long. It is over the St. Joe River.
It's just south of Stafford Gravel, if you guys are aware of that on County Road 79. We had ballpark estimates on that just from shooting from the hip. But until you go out and actually hire an engineer to go out and look at these bridges, they actually flew a drone over that. They did thermal imaging on that. They could shoot through the deck and tell the separations for the temperatures in that. There's a lot more lamination on that bridge than what we were. So there's going to be a lot of hydro demolition on that, probably some rebar repair. And that bridge is also old enough that it has the older style of guardrail. So since we are updating that, we're required to put the updated higher guardrail on that. That's the added cost. Well, the engineer's estimate on that is just a little over 1.3 million for that repair.
Technology they're using is amazing there because it's not going out and engineer just walking and looking for things. Now it's the thermal heat and with the drones and so on.
Right.
I know Ben showed me the photos there of it there, the red spots and stuff that you'd normally never pick up on.
Right, originally they used to go out and drag chains across the municipal house. So that's the old technology. Now they've got newer technology, but we don't have that type of equipment. Until we get that bridge under contract, engineer to see the scope of work and get it designed, that's when that stuff comes into play. Then we can get our true numbers. On our bridge inspections, on our priority list, they give us a ballpark number. But you guys remember when I talked to you during my budget presentation, I said this bridge was coming up. I may be back for an additional on that because until we get it engineered, I don't know. I just knew that bridge was long. I had really no idea what type of repair. So, and with talking with Susan, we had Bridge 9 pop up, and then the escalation of cost on all of our bridges, the ones that we have even done, Bridge 132, we redid that from a bridge to a small structure, and that was about $500,000, I think, for the box structure. Our costs are up. We're doing good on our bridges. I'm trying to stay there, but if we go ahead and try to do Bridge 17 this year, along with the other bridges engineering that we have committed already, come 2025, we really won't have much left budget for any project. We do small structures out of that as well. On an average, I do 8 to 10 a year. Historically, since I've been here, I've been working on our priority list from our inspection that was done in 2015. This year, we put in the budget to have our small structures inspected again. It's been 8 years ago. They're out doing that as we speak. I got an email yesterday of some that is already in concern that wasn't on our priority list. So we're going to also have those possibilities coming out as well. The nice thing, the small structures are substantially cheaper than bridges. But we had a surprise suckhole created on County Road 43 last summer that we had one sneak up on us. That was a structural arch pipe. We had to order, assemble on site, and then have installed. And I think that one ended up being somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000. Most generally, we can do smaller pipes for purchase, install, everything for somewhere between, I'd say, 15 to 30,000, depending on the length, the size, the diameter. Like I said, we try to do 8 to 10 of them. We're working at it. We've got a lot of stuff hidden in the ground. People drive down these roads, they don't see them, they don't think about it. See a ditch running, you don't understand the maintenance of the ditch, the maintenance of the pipes on the road, and the erosion and all that happens. Same with the scour on our bridges. Drive across the bridge, see the top, you don't realize underneath or what things happen. Overlook, not look at. It is a major part of our infrastructure in the county, and unfortunately, bridges and those are a lot of.
Now, is this bridge got weight limits on it now?
This bridge is very nice, structurally built bridge.
So the pillars underneath are solid.
Everything.
So you just got to go through and resurface, or what you call deck it and everything. And this cost you give 1.3, was that a high end or just?
I would say a little, yes, because
Okay.
the engineers are not going to underestimate it. They don't like to have estimates higher than them. So true numbers, I would speculate if we was to bid it, do it this year, probably be just a little over 1.2, depending on the workload and what the bidders would get. That's what I'd be speculating.
And you're if this is approved, you're going to go right ahead and get this taken care of, right?
I'm going to have the design finished up and hopefully bid it out for this fall.
Okay.
Bill, if we didn't have this extra ARPA funding, basically, we would have to pull it out of bridge cume or rainy day, or we'd have to get something out of general or something, because you're saying the bridge cume cap is going to be empty by 25, so we would be pulling from someplace else.
Yeah, anything that come up in 2025, we would not have the funds readily available. This will give us that cushion to have funds available. Something's going to come up 2025. If it's not a surprise, it's something that's already scheduled that we will need to take care of.
And
We've got 102, 103 bridges. Lifespan is about 50 years on a bridge. Do the math, that's 2 bridges every year it needs to be replaced. So it's an ongoing thing, but we're in good shape. We want to stay in good shape. We don't want to get behind on this. If you get behind, then you're in a pickle because it's hard to catch up.
I have 2 other bridges signed right now. We'll get construction orders on them. I had a rotation set up pretty decently. Bridge 9 did set us back. And these bigger bridges come due, we get over $1 million. That's a lot of money. And it takes a while to recoup that back to the fund.
Now, I asked Ben to come in. He's the brains. I'm just the brawn.
Anybody have any questions on $150,000 for the St. Joe Sewer Project?
Yeah. St. Joe came to us. They have to replace their sewer system. The plant itself is in bad shape. They got one tank that's a steel tank, and it's deep corroded to the point that they can't really use it anymore. And so they come to us. If they have to fund this on their own, it's going to about increase their sewer rates. And so we had given $200,000 to Waterloo to assist them in their sewer project, and we felt like we just felt obligated to help them out. They've got limited resources. Their income levels are not what some are, and we just thought we would try to help them out at $150,000.
And the jail chiller, I know we talked about this briefly at the council, but this is another expense that is unexpected, I think, of this. I know there's been repairs made over the years to it, but we're getting to the end of the cycle where you can't repair it much more without extensive repairs or replacement, and it's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap. There's a couple of things I want to note about that jail chiller. It's, we've got a $600,000, 988 or something like that on the paper here, but we've only got a really rough estimate on what that might cost, and it's somewhere in the $250,000 range. And we're going to get a more detailed estimate, and the proposal that was presented to us a week ago Monday was that we install not only the chiller, but we have a pump that's leaking rather badly. There's 2 pumps in that system. There's a primary and a secondary. The secondary isn't large enough to carry the entire load. So we're looking to replace both of those pumps and the chiller. Now, the fellow that was in here, the expert, is telling us they can design that so it would be compatible with the new jail when they build the new jail. At that point, they could take that chiller and those pumps out and install them in the new jail. It wouldn't service the entire jail, but it would probably service the administration section of that facility. So that's something they're going to give us more details on, and then we'll look to get that bid out and get that replaced. We're going to have to replace it. They're like a year out just to get the chillers, and if we go into summer season and we don't have a chiller, we're in trouble. We cannot keep prisoners in that jail without that chiller operating. That top floor gets really hot. So we're kind of in a time restraint there, so we'd like to move ahead with that and make sure we got, we thought this was a need, just like the bridge is a need, and this would be a good way to pay for that and good use of the ARPA funds.
If I recall right, at that meeting, they said that chiller was over 40 years old. Is that what?
40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons that, we could throw money at it. But if we can take a newer chiller, which you don't want, that's $600,000 off our expenses that we've already got paid if we can move it out to the new jail when we get that far along. You know, we could fix this other one, but the thing of it is, and what I understand from the meeting, you don't know how long it's gonna last. And if it goes out and we try to rent one, and the rent was $20,000 a month until we get one installed, and this one's not coming soon. It's gonna take 2 or 3 months to get it.
I think the pumps we can get.
Yeah,
We
the
can get the
pumps,
pumps
yeah.
rather quickly. The chiller's going to take some time. That one pump it's leaking rather badly, so we will look to replace that first and the backup pump probably, or at least the main pump.
And another thing, even if we fix the pump, which I would suggest we do, we have a secondary chiller that we wouldn't work the first one as heavy as can, and then when we can pull out, we can pull and take it out.
Yeah. And we'll have more detail on that a little later on. The gentleman's going to work up a plan, and he's got to coordinate this with the design of the new jail to make sure that chiller can be used. He doesn't see any reason why it couldn't be, but he's going to verify that and give us some hard numbers, and so that'll help making our decision on how we move forward. We're probably going to have to do something. We can't have that chiller going down. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea to try and design that so we can move it. I do have a couple questions on the things we're taking money from. And I want to point out that you guys are already spending money on upgrading some things at Sunny Meadows, if you want to speak to that.
Yes.
Because we still have 140-some thousand, and you guys are actively right now upgrading some of the serious things there with the showers and stuff.
The showers, right, the showers, the women's shower is complete. They were going to start demoing the men's shower Monday. And so in probably a week, 10 days, that one will be complete. And I was in there last week. We're just finishing up that women's showers, and I walked in there and it was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, you'll have to see it. I'll get you some before and after pictures at some point, and it's just amazing how good that looks. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to use less water. We had a problem out there running out of hot water and with the water system. This is going to help alleviate that. Those rooms are going to be warmer because one of the windows has been closed off and insulated. The showers have been rearranged. It's all handicap accessible now. Of course, it would have to be. And the other window was replaced last fall. So it's going to be warmer, more efficient, and it just really looks nice. It's just bright and lively.
We're going to have more, we know we're probably going to have some more repairs. Of the 144,000 that you have left, does the showers take most of that? Or is
No.
there going to still be money left to do some of the other?
There'll be some money left, and we don't know for sure. Pranger Enterprise is going to contribute somewhat. They provided the showers. I don't know how much they are going to contribute at this point. Frank Nestor is the general contractor on it. So I probably get a better idea from Frank on what it's going to be since the
Bill,
first shower's
I'm
done.
going to have to interrupt you. I don't mean to, but we've got a public hearing scheduled at 10 o'clock. So let's just recess this conversation. But I don't mean to cut you off there. It's good discussion. We'll pick it up there. But we do need to call the public hearing into session now at this time. And at this time, I will call the public hearing together. This is for the IGBD biogas tax abatement. And I'm going to look to Don Stuckey, our attorney, and Susan on this one there, because there are many, many parts on this here, and we want to make sure that we don't miss anything on this here. So the public hearing is now in session. First of all, is there anybody from the public that wants to testify, questions for, against, or anything on this right now at this part of the public hearing? Okay, not hearing anybody at this point here with comments from the public. We'll go ahead and proceed with the abatement part. Don? Yes.
years. Committee will
We still have the documentation as to what we recommended from tax abatement. Committee.
Close the hearing first.
Yeah, let me, okay, at this time, I am going to close the public hearing since there were no public comments on that, and we will work towards the declaratory resolution. Do we need to do that first, Don? This is where we're going to need your,
You're going to need to complete the confirmatory resolution.
Number of years and
The rate.
percentages for each year.
right.
Fill in the percentages for each year.
You have that.
And I believe Susan's provided.
I just gave it to you and Dave.
There is a recommendation from the tax abatement committee.
Look, Rick, I'm looking for it.
It was a 10-year abatement, 10% increments.
That's what we had on the
That was-
scoring
That was
sheet.
based on the amount of money that they were going to invest.
Yes.
But that's a recommendation from the committee. I think that's.
I have a copy of the scoring sheet.
You say,
Got one.
I did not reprint them for everyone. I had printed it for the attorney and for Dave Yarn on the scoring.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering how they individually scored.
From the abatement committee.
Yeah.
You don't have the scoring sheet. You have the, you do. It's in the, it's towards the back.
Because I can share with you there. It looks like this right here.
Yeah, it's almost been a year.
I know, I'm trying to look back at our records.
Oh, yeah.
That time, this company had, I believe, 3 different projects in motion. One in Ohio, one in DeKalb County, and one in Kosciuszko County.
That's correct.
They have since been given their tax abatement at Kosciuszko County. And unfortunately, due to some other issues I had going on, I was not able to confirm how many years or what they were given in Kosciuszko. So I don't have that information.
It was. So we need to approve the abatement schedule, Exhibit C.
You need to establish an abatement schedule and vote on the.
And I actually have, in case it helps, I actually have the vote on this at the end of the meeting. We just had to close to do the public hearing at 10 because we advertised. So if you want to hold off on this, we can do it at the end of our meeting and do the other things that we already had.
But the next thing, first thing we need to do is the abatement schedule, approval on that part. Can we take, say, 8, 9-minute break right now? Pardon? I see lots of legs crossing and dancing here, so we'll stand at recess for 10 minutes.
There's-
What's
And the
that?
photographer's out there.
There's
so we
also
could do that right at the
picture.
end of the
Oh,
break.
that's right.
Say what?
The picture,
Pictures at 10:15,
well, it's at 10:15, so
so
I didn't,
Better take your coat.
I did, yeah, it's as good as it gets right here. What did
Yes.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, what I'd like to do is go to the Northeastern Center Annual Report, please. I had this all in order. So is that here?
I think so.
Mr. Howell, would you like to step up to the mic, please, and present your report? Good morning.
Share a lot of the great work that we're doing in Northeastern. Northeastern Center is 24 community health centers. We primarily work out in the treatment space for behavioral health problems. We do some prevention, some training, but our primary so it encompasses substance use disorders, mental illness, depression, mental illness such as services, developing medication, crisis services, and those services. That in a variety of settings. Oh, thank you. I'm not going to start over, but we have a clubhouse program. We have residential and group home services. We have a wraparound program. We have access to the state hospital system, inpatient, outpatient, and a couple of new services have been our transportation services. We were awarded a contract from the state of Indiana last year. We run on a July through June fiscal year. So fiscal year 23, we received a transportation award for those that are justice involved and don't have transportation and need to get to either drug court, probation, the grocery store, wherever they need to go. We had intended on providing in the neighborhood of 800 rides last year. We provided 964. That award was continued for the current fiscal year, so funding continues through June. We are on target to provide 2,400 rides this year. So these are people who may be violated otherwise, and so the community has said this is certainly a need. It's a program service that we want to continue. The question is funding for it. We don't make any money from it, but it does pay most of our expenses. So I'm very proud of that program. And then in December, we opened up a crisis receiving and stabilization service here in Auburn. And we call that NEC Cares. That is a program that is on Wesley Road. So we have 3 buildings side by side on Wesley Road. We have the old Children's First building where we're putting a lot of services, including NEC Cares. And that is a 23-hour model that is going to go fully live 24/7, 365 on February 24th. We opened it on December 1st of 23. Due to limited staff and ramp up, we were opening it from Monday through Friday, 7 to 7. It's a place designed where law enforcement in particular, first responders, can drop someone off. So if they encounter someone who really isn't a criminal, really doesn't need to go to the emergency department, they don't know what to do with them. So we say, bring them to us. We'll get them what they need. We have shower facilities. We have meals. We have clothes that they can, that they can get new clothing. We also hope to reengage them. Most people have been in the system for a while, so we want to reengage them with medication, with whatever services they need, and they can stay up to 23 hours. So since December 1st, we've had about a dozen individuals that have taken advantage of that program. And again, now that we will be going 24/7, we're going to be promoting that more. So that's probably our newest program. The age of our clients are essentially cradle to grave, primarily folks that live or reside in the four-county area, and we've been in business since 1977, so closing in on 50 years with Northeastern Center. So I thought that might just help contextually about who we are and what we do. I know that you all received our DeKalb County specific annual report the end of December. So if there are questions or that I can entertain, I'd be glad to.
I don't necessarily have a question. I just have a comment being involved in some of the mental health committees and regionally and statewide. I'm super excited about your clinic here in DeKalb County because before, when you had a person that they had mental health issues or needs, they'd had a choice between taking them to the emergency room, which a lot of times they don't need that, take them to jail, which that just makes things worse, or to go all the way to Fort Wayne to Parkview Behavioral Health, and that is a big choice for a department or an officer to decide, okay, I'm going to take them all the way there. And then when they do take them there, not only does it cost the county money, but it also costs that individual because they may or may not have any support system that far away from if they're actually residing somewhere in DeKalb County or have a support system, somewhat of a support system in DeKalb County. So very, very excited about that. And as well as what I heard from some of the other folks, there's a crisis team, a mobile crisis team in our county that I'm not sure everybody's aware of. And they've reported at one of our meetings that very, very good interactions with your team there at that crisis center, that it's easy transfer, quick transfer of that person. And that's really, really good for the folks of DeKalb County.
Yeah, so. Thank you for sharing that. We're really excited about it too. We're a little bit nervous because you don't quite know what you're going to get walked through the door. Well, it's geared towards first responders. It's also for family members who aren't sure what to do, or people can just come in. And of the dozen people that have come in, we've got, we've already seen that whole continuum. And so it's exciting, a little bit nerve-wracking at the same time. We have beefed up our security on our campus there, again, just because you never quite know. The mobile crisis team is another exciting expansion. I've been with Northeastern Center for 30 years, and and probably before that, we have always had a crisis 24/7 team. So this is this will become a more robust team, and we are looking to hire folks now. A big emphasis in the field of behavioral health is to hire people with lived experience, which is also a challenge for a variety of reasons. But our mobile crisis team will be made up of 5 teams of 2, and one will have a consumer or someone with lived experience on that team. And the idea is that we're going to do more aggressive outreach. And really an expansion of what we've been doing a long time. So, and we partner with Benchmark AWRC, Anthony Wayne, who is also in the mobile crisis team space. So, I will say in DeKalb County is pretty reflective of all of our counties, all 4 of our counties, in that about 75% of those that we serve are adults, 25% kids. We have a presence in all of the schools. We have, in DeKalb County, we are looking at expanding our involvement with DeKalb Central. We have actually 2 programs. We have what we call a school assistance program, which is essentially 2 free appointments for anyone within the school system. And the reason we call it a school assistance rather than student is that it's open to staff. And so it's not just for students. We do that at no charge. We have a lot of folks that take advantage of that. And then the other program that we have currently in Garrett Kaiser Butler, and we also have in DeKalb Eastern, is what we call a navigator system, where we have case managers embedded in the schools, and their job is to, with the help of school personnel, identify kids and families that need service and then help them navigate through the system. So it's not just feeding Northeastern Center, it's trying to say what's the best fit for this family. So real excited about that as well, because I think we always need to do more. We need to do more with kids. We need to do more with addiction work as well. But yeah, really proud of the work that my team does there. So,
I know a lot of what you're doing with the Crisis Response Center came out of the mental health issues that we had going on through the legislature last year, and you guys have picked up on it and really run with it. And I really do appreciate that. In talking with other counties, we're much farther ahead here than many other locations. I also appreciate the fact that you're here. That's one of the complaints I always heard from around the state was, well, we have this center, but we don't know who they are, we don't know what they do, and they don't give us any information. And you've been doing that now for some time, especially since you've been CEO. That's really been helpful. And I know when I first started to delve into this issue, it was very difficult for me to find who were the board members that represented DeKalb County, because it's a self-perpetuating board that you have, and you have 3 excellent representatives, and I see their name right on the front page of your report. One being our former prosecutor, who has been able to, I'm sure, bring to you some of the mental health issues that we've had going on here through the criminal justice system, but also one is a teacher, then the other one actually runs the Woodburn Children's Home.
Yes.
So I think we've got some great representatives there. Hopefully they're speaking up for us at every meeting.
yeah, they are. We have a terrific board. We have a 13-member board, so we have 3 reps from each county. We have an at-large appointment. So yeah, very blessed with the board that we have.
Steve, quick question. I see in your substance diagnosis subcategories here, that cannabis is right up there with just about everything. I guess my question is, and maybe you can't answer it, is states relaxed their laws regarding marijuana, cannabis, and so on, Ohio and Michigan here. Has that had an increase here in DeKalb County, the closeness, proximity to those states that have opened up retail on these substances? Or any?
What I hear is anecdotal, and it's often from law enforcement, or it's from our counselors who people will buy cannabis in Michigan, for example, and transport it back, and either they don't think about it or don't care about it, that it's still illegal in Indiana, at least for now, although I think from what I hear, it's starting to be entertained that it become legal. In Indiana. Becky Calhoun is the president of our board, who is also runs the drug-free Noble and DeKalb County. So I don't know if we're seeing an increase in it per se, but what I hear is typically, more anecdotal about these situations. I think you certainly don't have to look far to see billboards, we're 20 minutes away or whatever it is. So yeah, I can't really speak to how it's impacting those numbers, but it certainly is significant.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming in. For 12 years and my dad was on this board, and plus my 10 years. We never knew what this money is for. It was a bitter struggle to hand over this money and not have any say in it. I do appreciate the last 2 years you coming in and explaining your program and moving a program here in DeKalb County so that we can see what's working on. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. And anytime I'm available, I hear from Rick periodically, but I'm open to hear, I want to be very transparent with what we do and who we are, so.
Thank you.
I cannot confirm or deny. Liz was a great hire for us. Liz started in September. We actually ended up creating a new position. It probably sounds fancier than what it is, but she is our Chief of Data Analytics. We are finding that with some of the award money that we're receiving and just in this day and age, that we have got to have strong data, and it just keeps coming at us and coming at us. And so finally, we took the plunge, and Liz answered the call, and she's been terrific for us. So thank you. I'll pass that along.
So, Steve, thank you for the report. Does anybody else have any questions for Steve on the Northeast Center report? If not, I'd entertain a motion from the council to accept the report. Do we have we have a motion and a second, motion from Rick Ring and a second from Bill Van Wyde to accept the report. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The report's been accepted. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
good report. Thank you. Let's see. Next, we've got a Board of Health. We don't have anybody else here other than Bill and Ben. Let's go back to our ARPA plan change there, and we'll bring that to consideration there. So thanks,
Okay,
Bill.
I guess
Thank you for your
at this
patience.
point, comments or questions? We discussed the showers, I believe, out at Sunny Meadows, and that's well on its way. One's done, the other's is being worked on this week, so looking forward to get that done. It was something that had to be done. Those showers are in really bad shape. So anyway, anything else on that?
Yeah, I just one comment that, I think we all know that there's going to be something else that needs to be done at Sunny Meadows, but not knowing what that is yet. And since these ARPA funds, I believe, have to be spent by the end of '25, which is sooner than everybody thinks. So.
Spent by 26, but.
Oh, by 26?
But they have to be,
Approve or
like, to a
designated?
project, by 24,
By 24.
by the end of this year.
To not just designated, but we actually have to have a project that we know that we're doing.
It's, yeah.
And that's going to be pretty tough for us to do in Sunny Meadows, I think. But just to state to the council, there could be quite a bit of money, that much or more, that we need to come up with, depending on what we decide to do with Sunny Meadows and how there is a report that Rick can speak to.
No, there are a number of issues that need to be addressed out there if we're going to continue to keep Sunny Meadows as a county function. And the commissioners have worked on some of them. I mean, the bathrooms were definitely an issue. I think a ramp's been put in. I think more windows were talked about not long ago, but it's an old building. And I think before we move any money out of this, or ARPA money, we need to have a full evaluation of the building and decide what needs to be done to it, and if it's too expensive, what are our alternatives? So I think it's too early at this point to move any of this money out of that designation till we figure out what we're doing there.
Yeah, as far as, I think, I'm pretty sure there's going to be money left out of the 144,000. I have no idea how much, but I would say just a rough guesstimate, half of that will still be left over for any additional projects that do creep up that we have to fix. We do have a new water heater in there. That was an issue last year that had to be replaced. And so that's out of the way. About 4 years ago, we put a new roof over the kitchen. So that's not an issue that's going to pop up on us. So there have been some things done to, get us ahead of this a little bit. So we just felt like we have these other needs. Let's take care of these other needs, and then going forward, we can sort out Sunny Meadows. There's no guarantee it's going to stay open. There's no guarantee it's going to close. But we just got to do some thinking and figuring on that and go from there.
Well, we can't turn our back on the bridge. We're going to have to pull money somewhere. And, what'd you say? We have it projected by the end of '24, this argument. So we have plenty of time, and once, I mean, I'm not gonna stop it from being moved. I realize we need money out there, but we have these other, and besides the chiller, we might go back and say, okay, we'll spend 100,000, so that money come back. So we've got 4 months, but I don't wanna tie Ben's hands and say, well, we ain't gonna have the money there to fix the highway bridge until it's too late. I mean, if we let this go, you think 1.3 is gonna be a big number, you know, in 60 days, it might be 1.6 million. And so I think we should look at it, and if they have money, bring it back and put it back. Another question I was gonna ask, you took 100,000 out of the, generator. Have you got a generator installed? Is there a generator for the whole courthouse?
We've got it priced. We've got the bid approved.
Okay, but you don't have it done yet.
Yeah, it's not done yet. It will be, that project will probably start taking place here in early spring.
Okay,
And, yeah, we come in well under the money we had set aside for that, so there's gonna be some money in there, and there's probably going to be some money left over from the chiller. When they get that nailed down, and we'll know how
Right,
much
yeah.
we will have. We'll get that priced out, get a bid out.
but, you know,
The other piece of it that is unknown also is we still have quite a bit in the, like the audit fees. Because if you remember, at the beginning, they wanted us to hold back 20% of what we got for State Board of Account audits. And you didn't, went with like 10%. And so I've spent what I could with the most recent audit out of there, but that could potentially have extra in it as well. We just don't know. Like this year will probably be a bigger year for when they come audit for the ARPA expenditures and stuff. So that also is kind of up in the air.
but we have projects that may not cost as much as we got, but we need to move on with the bridge, at least in the chiller. Because, you know, as Bill said, global warming, he's in favor of it, so we might be in April, be in the 80s, and to keep Bill happy. And so, you know.
Get the guys across the street happy.
Anybody else have any questions for Bill on this?
Yeah,
I have a couple.
go ahead.
On the Baker Tilly fees, it says no longer anticipating. Was that part of them helping us navigate the ARPA plan? Why are we not anticipating that?
I think that was part of the solar part.
Oh, okay.
And we have our consultant, vendor, whatever we call
Okay.
them, that is already helping us with that. We just didn't have any idea if we were gonna have to have more help.
I thought that was like just a given, that was their fee for helping us with the ARPA plan.
No.
Okay. Then my other question on the jail chiller, the 604,000, that's not a cost to replace the entire unit. That's just the pumps?
No,
and
that's entire, the guesstimate we got a week ago Monday was 250,000 to replace all of it.
Okay,
Yeah. yeah.
okay. I
That was
wrote down
to-
250, but I didn't get the rest
So
of it.
there
I'm
would
sorry.
be, there could be some excess left over from that project. But we won't know that probably for another month, maybe 2 weeks. We'll get a more defined answer on that.
Okay.
I might be thinking wrong. I was thinking that they said there might be two different things. If we went with a unit that could potentially be moved, that we could be looking at like $500,000.
Was that the number?
Yeah, it was more.
I'm
think so,
thinking
too.
it was about
I think it was
$500,000.
too, because.
You might be right. You might.
Because it was a bigger unit, so it would complement a second unit, so we had 2 units out there, because they didn't think they could run the new jail with 1 unit. And I thought it was closer to 500,000 for it, if we went that way.
And the 250, because I remember that number 2, that might have been if we just did a new one for at the current location
Yeah.
that wasn't movable.
Yeah, that was stationary, that would work with the one, worked with the one we had. It'd
Yeah.
take over the main chilling, but the other one would be a backup in case something went wrong, but they
Yeah.
was using it as a supplement. So,
That would be the pumps.
yeah, with the
Yeah.
pumps, but yeah,
That'd
they
be the
had
pumps.
they had 2, they were gonna put a smaller chiller in there too.
But I am thinking that it was estimated about close to $500,000 for one that could go to the new jail.
I stand corrected.
I think.
Thank you.
Sorry,
I have
Bill.
one more question on the removals. Having been on the committee that went throughout the county and listened to all the different constituents at 6 different meetings, one of the biggest things that came up from every single meeting was drain and ditch engineering. They're talking about being 10 years behind on getting ditches fixed and drains done for farmers. It says here that we're on a better track. Are we made up all that 10 years and we don't need to spend extra to get? I mean, it was a significant issue that we were going to spend a lot of money to get outside engineering to try and get some of these ditches going. But I don't know. I'd like some.
And that kind of grew out of the fact that the previous surveyor was not proactive as we hoped he would be. And so we looked at this outside engineering to speed up those processes. This thing has changed considerably. We even talked about a project last Thursday and whether to outsource that engineering job. And it was decided, due to the fact of the backlog of projects we have to do now, we may start dwindling that fund as far as the reconstruction fund. So we may have to kind of pull back a little bit and do some of the smaller projects and not do the bigger ones. But it was decided on this bigger one that we could do that in-house and not have to hire it out. Because when you hire that out, that goes on top, actually on top of you either have to put it on top of the cost, or somebody out there is going to say, well, why wasn't my ditch done? Why didn't I get a prepaid engineering fee on my bridge? It's going to skew the cost to the landowners on how much you're going to pay if we do it in-house as opposed to if we hire it. And we just don't see the need at this point going forward, so that's why we took that out.
So potentially, if you used ARPA funds to pre-engineer my drain, and so that my assessment would be lower because you used ARPA funds than Amy's assessment, who you didn't use ARPA funds. That's a sticky situation.
Throws it out of balance, and somebody's going to scream.
Just go out there and discuss that with a couple of farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically well explained.
Okay.
Amy?
Bill, quick question. If some of these things, items come in less and there is money left over, say with the chiller or whatever, will you come back to the council and say, we want to put it in this fund or we want to extend it? You will come back to us.
Yeah, we would do that at the end of the year when we know exactly where we're at.
It's a very hard thing to just cut and dry, be able to tell you guys what they need, because all the prices are unknown, as you know, but then there's also potential for different pieces of a grant match that might be needed for some highway projects, because Ben has been able to get very good grants, and just different little pieces that may be needed. We just can't say, oh, let's hold back $500,000 for a grant match when we don't know that we're going to actually need it. And the County Road 56 project is a big project, and I have that. We have that match funded. It's already ready to roll. But there's just different pieces that different things could be used for that just are not known at the moment.
Anybody else? Rick, did you have another comment?
The other thing that's on here is the $500,000 for the solar installation at Community Corrections. I know that the price of electricity out there has not gone down any, so why would we be removing this? Because that was meant to offset that high cost.
A couple things here. I have had a meeting already with the new mayor addressing that peak energy cost out there, and I'm still working at getting that removed off of that electric bill. The other thing is the inefficiency of solar panels. I have solar panels on my barn. Last month, I went in a hole $20. When the days the sun did shine, those were covered with snow. I made $2.93 generating electricity. My line cost was $27. So I went backwards. So I am not We can put the money into it, there's no guarantee it's going to pay off. I'd rather keep pursuing to get this peak charge removed from that facility and those utility bills.
Yeah, just to speak to that, we've been working on, I've been paying peak charge for 12 years now, and it amounts to $8,000 a month, and there's not going to be any success unless they take it off of everybody commercially, and the electric department, I don't think can afford to do that.
I question the criteria under which they place that facility under a peak charge, because it's a not-for-profit. It's not, it doesn't manufacture anything. There's no profit generated out there. Why on earth are we on a peak charge?
Everybody that has three-phase electricity has to pay it. If you have three-phase electricity, you all have to pay it. And I'd like to get rid of it too. If you get rid of it, I'm right behind you.
And that is, it does have, if it comes off one, it has to come off all.
Yeah.
In order to be fair.
And the hospitals.
I don't agree with that. Yeah, I don't agree with
And
that.
is that fair? Is that fair? If I was the industry sitting next door, I'd be kind of upset. I'm glad that they got it done, but basically, your electric charge has a number of pieces. And the least expensive piece is the actual cost of the electricity. The demand charge, the fixed cost charge is paying for all the lines, all the substations, all of what supports the delivery of that electricity. And I know when I was on city council, we loaded that side very heavily because that charge was there month after month after month, no matter what. If your use of electricity went up or went down, fine, but your fixed costs were always there, so you need to have that amount. So if you're gonna remove a charge for somebody, you need to remove it for everybody.
Well, I gotta disagree with that because that is a residential facility. The residential houses in this city do not have to pay a peak charge. So why does community corrections have to pay a peak charge being a residential facility, a nonprofit facility? And it just doesn't make sense to me that the criteria is flawed, that it is placed in that category. And there again, there's no profit, there's no production out there. There's no chance of any profit. So why are we penalizing the taxpayer with this peak charge? So, like I say, it's a new day, a new mayor. I'm going to keep at it.
I want to kind of keep this moving, too.
It's a matter for the city of Auburn, not us, or?
Pardon?
Is this a matter for the city of Auburn to be deciding and not us?
On the electrical part,
We all
that'd be
want
City
it.
of Auburn.
The conversation is gonna.
Yeah.
We're just getting carried away.
And but those what level you're at is like water. Your base water fee is based on the size of the pipe coming into your house. If you got a 1-inch line, that's one thing. If you got a 2-inch line, it's something totally different. Same way with the meter setting at the facility. If you can bring in this amount of power, it's going to be one thing. If it's a lesser amount, it's lower. So most of your houses have a small capacity meter, maybe 200 amps. Some probably have 250. So.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Bill on this?
Just back to, and I just with what Councilman Ring, Councilman Kraft spoke about, the Sunny Meadows thing is the one that just interested me there. Went through the facility when we put the new roof on the kitchen. I was involved in that. And so I had to climb out the window multiple times. So it was the end of the hill to get onto that roof. And as I walked through the facilities, and the upgrades were, they were just off the wall. The list was huge. I know that we've talked about as a county over the years of whether we keep that facility and not keep that facility. If we keep that facility, I think that facility and the people that we're offering services to there deserve what you're doing there now. And if there's anything else out there on the horizon in the next 24 months, we ought to be not pulling money away from that and getting it done sooner. That facility had been underfunded for a long time, a long, long time. So I'm a little nervous about that. All the things that we're moving it to, I think are crucial. I think the bridge is crucial. Ben mentioned that we would, that has to go in the fall to hold that up is crazy. That could move you into another season potentially, right, Ben? Good, and we certainly don't want to do that. But that particular one, I just, it's always been the one where they, were scrambling to get dollars for that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was a group that had met, this was before my time, but a group that had met and talked about where these monies would go to, and there was probably a long-term discussion. So, it feels like we're kind of undoing what they thought was a high priority then. And I know things change. I know circumstances change. I'm not questioning that.
And I understand that, but the bottom line is, we got the needs immediately that we need to take care of. And we can either fudge some money from some other source to take care of that now, or you can use ARPA fund and then take care of the Sunny Meadows later out of, through another process. The money's all going to be the same. It's just when you move it and how you do it.
Which was my comment earlier, just, I wanted everybody to be aware that we may have to spend that much or more out of other
Yeah,
other places later
yeah.
if we move this.
I mean, the need is here right now. We know we're going to have to spend the money for this bridge.
Absolutely.
We know we're going to spend the money for the chiller. Let's do it, and then we'll move forward. And there's too many unknowns here, too many what ifs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take care of what is, and then we can address the what ifs if those come about. But the money's all going to be the same. You're going to spend it now, you're going to spend it 2 years down the road. It's basically going to be the same. So it's in your,
Anybody else? Okay, I'm looking for a motion for approval on the ARPA changes. Do we have a motion for approval?
I would, first of all, suggest that rather than doing this as a single package, that we vote individually on each one of the removal items.
What's the council's pleasure? That would be a council decision. Do we have consensus? Do we need to go around? Okay, so we will go line by line. So I'll start right here with the $600,000. No, we just need a simple majority, though, yea or nay. Okay, first one would be to remove $600,000 from Sunny Meadows. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Do we have a motion?
We don't have a motion. And
Okay, so wait, we're doing a motion, a second, and a vote on each single item.
Can we take a motion to address each one of them individually so that we only have one motion and one second? And then vote on each one individually. Can you do that? Okay.
Okay, I need a motion to remove the $600,000 from Sunny Meadows. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Bill Van Wy. Do we have a second? Do we have a second to remove the $600,000 from Sunny Meadows? Okay, we have a second by Amy Prosser. Okay, all those in favor of removing the $600,000 from Sunny Meadows, and the chair will be voting also, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
No.
Aye.
How many was that? Who?
You're gonna have
raise
to
your
take a roll
hands
call.
if you said no.
We'll have to take a roll call, Susan. Okay, those, go ahead.
Collins,
Which, my aye.
you are voting, are you yes or no on removing 600,000?
I'm a no.
No. Okay. Prosser? Dembski? Bob?
No.
Bill?
Yes.
Rick?
No.
And Dave?
Yes.
So 4-3. So motion passes.
Okay, the next item is removing the $500,000 from the community correction solar installation. Do I have a motion to remove the $500,000? Okay, who was that? Amy Prosser? Do we have a second?
I'll make it.
Bill Van Wy, second. Okay, And again, we'll do a roll call on yea or nay on removing the 500,000.
Okay. Collins,
Yes, remove.
Prosser, Dembski, Bob,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Rick, Ring, and Dave Yard.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
So that's 6-1.
6-1, yep.
Okay, next is removing the $425,000 from the ditch drain engineering. Do we have a motion to approve? Okay, Amy Prosser makes the motion. Second? Amy Dembski, second. Okay, Susan, would you do the roll call, please?
Okay, Collins,
Yes, remove.
Prosser. Yes. Dembski,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Van Wy.
No.
Ring,
No.
and Yard.
Yes,
So
5-2.
5-2.
Next is removing the $50,000 from the Baker Tilly fees that are no longer anticipated. Do we have a motion to approve removal?
So moved.
Okay, Rick Collins made the motion. Second?
Yes.
Bob Kraft, second. Susan, would you call the roll, please?
Collins,
Yes, remove.
Prosser. Dembski. Yes. Kraft,
Yes.
Van Wy.
Yes.
Ring,
Yes.
Yard.
Yes. 7-0.
Yep.
Okay, next is removing the $379,989.89 from the county dispatch tower upgrades. That project is completed. Do we have a motion to approve removal?
That motion.
Bob Kraft made the motion.
Second.
Second, Rick Collins. Susan, would
Okay.
you do the roll call, please?
Collins,
Yes, remove.
Prosser. Dembski.
Yes.
Kraft.
Yes.
Van Wy.
Yes.
Ring.
Yes.
Yard.
Yes.
Okay.
Passes 7-0. And the last one is removal of $100,000. Susan, did you need something?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, and that last one is removing $100,000 from the courthouse generator. Price is lower than anticipated there. So do we have a motion for approval to remove the $100,000?
So moved.
Okay, Amy Dembski, and second by Amy Prosser. Susan, would you call the roll, please?
Collins,
Yes.
Prosser. Dembski. Kraft.
Yes.
Van Wy.
Yes.
Ring.
Yes.
Yard.
Yes.
Okay.
Passes 7-0. So we have completed the removal request bill. It has been approved. And thank you for bringing that to us there.
We have to
Thank
do the
you.
same thing
So
on
we
the
gotta do the
ads.
same thing on, if we're gonna
We'll do
add,
the same thing on adding, okay? Do we need to do the same thing if everybody's in agreement or unless somebody objects?
I object.
We have an objection, and we will go ahead and vote on the additions, the adding of it there. So, first addition will be the $1,300,000 for the Bridge Number 17 project.
I move we approve it.
Okay, we've got a motion by Bill Van Wy, a second. Amy Prosser, a second. Susan, would you call the roll, please?
Collins,
Yes.
Prosser. Dembski.
Yes.
Kraft.
Yes.
Van Wy.
Yes.
Ring.
No.
Yard.
Yes.
I'd like to explain that vote. And it moves right into what's our next topic on the agenda. Without having a plan for the roads, we are constantly throwing money at things back and forth. Surprises come up, whatnot. We have not established a standard as to how these bridges are going to be taken care of, whether we're going to do it in a 5-year time frame or a 10-year time frame, how we're going to handle citizen requests on paving of roads, because we don't have a standard for when a road gets paved or not, and we don't have a standard or a philosophy on how soon we're going to move our roads that are rated as a 1 through 5 and move them up into the higher class. So until that plan is done, I would object to doing any of it.
Okay, this might be out of order to do it. I was going to address this during the wheel tax piece there. there are an awful lot of moving pieces here. Ben put together a plan on costs, on repairs, on upgrading from level 1 to level 2, and I've got copies here. It was very, very
Yeah,
detailed.
we had that
There
before.
were no specific roads assigned here, because Ben and Bill and the commissioners, you could put a plan together here in November, and due to weather changes and conditions and so on, that whole plan may be upside down. You know, as an example, I can remember, and this is probably before any of you were in the council here, salt at one time was very scarce, it was a premium. And if you could find salt, you were gonna pay 3 times the normal amount. And we did, and it cost about broke the highway department just because we had to have salt. Another time, we had a pretty extensive flood. We had a lot of asphalt and gravel roads that were washed away, big expenses. So I know what it's like to try to put a plan together, because your pieces are constantly moving out there on it. And what you may say, we want to do this and this and this, may not happen because of that. And the other thing is, and this is getting into the wheel tax there, we got a plan, and we put together, and I brought copies of it for if everybody doesn't have it. We said if there would ever be a wheel tax, and we're not looking at that, but if there is a wheel tax, if we go to this plan here, this is what would be generated here, you know, and where it would go, you know, how much would go to cities, towns, and the local communities there. Then we had another column here, and we had a third one with the AMP added, and the AMP was the assessed management plan. So we came up, the council did, with all of the numbers here as what it would be. But we've never passed a wheel tax. We have never given the commissioners or Ben saying, here, you've got $1 million, now put a plan together here, because they don't have any idea on how much money is gonna come their way. And it's kinda hard to put a plan together, a budget, with no money attached to it there. And we haven't given them that, Rick.
But are we talking chicken and egg here? I know that LaGrange County's got a 10-year plan that was put together by their engineering firm that they are trying to work with and stay within.
But they have a wheel
And
tax.
But I'm saying we don't need a wheel tax until this plan is done, because the comment was made, we'll spend whatever money you can give us. Well, that's not the way you plan. That is not the way any business plans. You put together what you need, and then you decide, this is how much money we have, so either we're gonna cut things out, or we're gonna say, instead of doing something in 5 years, we're gonna do it in 10 years. But give the taxpayers an idea of where we're going. And so until a plan is done, I would not vote for a wheel tax. I say no to that, because we don't have any idea how it's going to be spent.
We don't have any idea on how much money would be generated first. And second, we don't know, with the state right now, there's a lot of different avenues being looked at. You know, we were told here by Jeff Peters, here, I think it was in October or November, the highway department was going to be upside down in 25. And we're not there, because our fortunes have changed here for the good. You know, assessed valuations are up and everything, and then the state is going to be looking at some additional funding. So we may not even have to go to a wheel tax. But Bill, if there would ever become a wheel tax, and if there would be an X amount of dollars coming to the commissioners, would you guys have a detailed plan put together on where this would go?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ben, you'd be a part of it.
Yeah.
We have a plan. We have a 5-year plan. We have to submit one to the city every year. We have a 5-year bridge plan, we have a 5-year road plan, it's a living document.
But if additional money would come your way with a wheel tax, you'd be able to make additions or corrections to that.
Easy, I mean, for what we presented to you, we're short already. I'm gonna be short even more this year as the commissioners appropriated funds to pay the highway payment. That plan was based off 1.2 million off lighted funds to pay the highway. Now this year's reduced down to 900,000, so we're short 300,000 that year, so that makes us 1.2 million short to maintain what we currently have. That's to maintain. As we don't maintain and keep up, our roads are gonna be forced more to be reconstructed. Then you go into the reconstruction cost, is a lot more cost than what I give you on that spreadsheet.
Do you have any roads right now that you're aware of that in October, compared to right now, that are gonna need some work, serious work on them because of the freezing, thawing,
Yes.
changing road conditions?
I have a road that was resurfaced in 2019 off Community Crossings grant that got surfaced late. It got finished in October. And I don't think it got the density in it. I can't say because we did not pull corduroy 4 drillings off that within a year, but that road is rattling now at 6 years old, 5 years old. So we are gonna be forced to chip seal that road prematurely in order to save it, because if the top is rattling, it's deteriorating, and if we don't, we're gonna have a junk road. Them things, it's life, guys. We have over 700 miles of roadway. I mean, yeah, we can come up with a plan, we can give you the plan, we can show you the money. It's gonna change every year. It's gonna change throughout the, needs are gonna change. I've got roads that's just blown apart this spring from the freeze and thaw, and I didn't plan on doing anything, but now I'm gonna be forced to doing something. You know, just like with this bridge here. This bridge has been on our asset, it's been on our priority scale.
And that
You don't know
bridge,
you don't know the true replacement of that until you have it engineered.
but again, with thermal technology and stuff, which you didn't have 5 years ago, you would have never picked up on this bridge going over the St. Joe, that the deck was getting bad on it there. And this is a
Well,
lot
we
of.
knew it because it's starting to show it, yes. But we don't know the extent of it until you go out and have these procedures done on it. You don't know. You know, you can't, I mean, we don't have thermal imaging eyes. I can't see through. If we did, we'd be millionaires. You know, you can't predict it until you go out. Same thing with County Road 56 over here. I put a project budget number together, shoot from the hip. Well, when we went out and did core samples, now we had to add 1.7 million to that project, remove that peat after we go out and do investigation. You know, until you go out and engineer and design and every aspect of a road, just like on a county road, you talk about conversion. There's some roads I can convert for 150,000 per mile. There's going to be some that's going to cost you 200,000 to 300,000 per mile. Every road, every soil, everything's different.
Don't think that I'm complaining about anything that Ben has done. Ben has done an excellent job with the roads with what he's got available. But we have no idea what kind of money we're talking about to do any of these projects as we look down the line 5 years or 10 years. And that was, Ben was part of putting that plan together, along with one of our engineers, but it was done on the seat of his pants in a short amount of time, as best they could. I'm asking that we put together some type of a plan where we understand what we need and what kind of money is being asked for, and then decide, do we have that kind of money? Do we even want to generate? I mean, again, I am not for
Here's a
doing
number
a
I'd like to
wheel
share with you.
tax.
Bridge 17, I've got a cost here, 1,370,000. We do it this year. If we did that bridge in 2 years, I got an estimate here of $1,599,723.05. If we wait 2 years.
So, Ben, if we're looking at a 5-year plan, do you have I know it's going to be a guesstimate because look at the price, I know how much the price of asphalt went up here about 3-4 years ago. It just broke the bank for everybody, large homeowner, small business, or
Labor,
whatever.
everything went up. Concrete.
Everything, labor it has. So if we ever got to that point, you could put a guesstimate, a price guesstimate, subject to change together, you've done?
To an extent, yeah. You know, the inflation every year, it's hard to figure. This year, fortunately, the oil prices are down. Our asphalt prices have stayed relatively pretty close to last year. You know, that's why our CCMG this year come in surprisingly pretty decent numbers.
One of the issues that LTAP brought up at a conference we were at in Indianapolis not long ago, the cost of a box bridge has gone up 30 to 50%. And we have a large number of box bridges that are all reaching their useful life is about finished. So those are all dollars that we're going to need at some point in the next 5 to 10 years. Commissioners had one of the Amish people come in a couple of meetings ago, wanted to have a road asphalted, because I think he made the comment of how often he had to wash his buggy during a funeral that they were doing.
If we get Amish population in here, it's fine, but we can maintain a gravel road substantially cheaper in the Amish community where they travel them more so than pavement. You talk about LaGrange County, ask them what they spend in horse troughing a year.
I speak with them frequently.
Just drive them.
I can't go out and chip seal a gravel road in an Amish community and expect it to last. We're going to have to hard surface.
Yeah, Bob.
That's going to be more miles, more cost per mile to hard surface.
I'd like to remind the council, everybody, of something Dave just said, which is the true fact. We go back and look in the minutes. Wheel tax was brought up because we were looking at a shortage in the highway budget. Like Ben mentioned, he's got a shortage coming up. It wasn't brought up because we wanted a plan to do more stuff. We were going to be in trouble. We were going to be in the red and not be able to operate the highway department. That's when it was brought up. So until we know what that shortage is, not a plan on how many more roads we're going to do, how much we're going to be short, that's when we're going to need to start talking about wheel tax.
900 and
Well, you got a shortage this year, but it was projected, in '25 we were going to have a shortage.
right now, with the commissioners contributing 1.2 million, we was gonna be negative $948,911, doing what we're currently doing off of today's price. We are short that now,
From last year, basically.
basic, yes. And you gotta figure inflation in there. Our cost pretty much from I don't have it with me, I think like 2016, 2017 up to current, my MVH LRS distributions has been pretty much about straight across. They haven't really increased, but they haven't really dropped.
So my point
COVID, they
is,
dropped a little bit because the fuel was down, people traveling last. You gotta kind of take that error out. If you stay consistent, our revenues from the state's been pretty much standard across. It hasn't been increasing like it should be to eat the inflation. And for what we have, we have been getting by with, if it wasn't for the commissioners as lighted the funds, we would be in a lot more trouble. That has helped substantially.
but my point is that if we're going to look at this tax, it's going to be, I think, for the original reason, it's a shortage, not because we have a plan or don't have a plan. If we have a shortage, we know we have to fill it. And so that's what. when
That's
we
a
need-
great first step, right there.
And it may be, depending on what the state does with gas tax and all this other things they're throwing around, it may be more, it
And
may
we
be
will
less.
not
We may-
know that
Yeah.
until after the legislature next year, because the task force that is studying the road funding issue won't report until the '25 legislature. And there is an issue with restricted, unrestricted money as to where we can use the money that's being generated. But, so that, to be fair, I just want to see a plan. What do we need and how, for what period of time? And give some of our taxpayers that have been in here asking that their road be paved, give them an idea of when that's going to happen and what's the criteria. Because some of them, if I'm I was very simplistic when I thought, let's do it based on how many houses are on a road. But I think that the engineer from BF&S did say there's a lot more to it than just how many houses are on a road. It's what does the road connect to? What's between
Traffic count.
Part A and Part B? You need to have all of this down, but I don't know that we
And
have
the
any
more,
of
the
that.
other thing you gotta remember too, the more we improve, the more we hardtop, our maintenance costs going up that much more each year. So these numbers will increase as we convert.
But right now, you do have a plan on either areas of improvement, possibly what areas you would like to, if you had a wish list, look at possibly paving or adding to or whatever. You do have a plan, or as far as, the moving pieces, it's all going to change. We're all aware of
We
that.
do have gravel roads that we're looking at converting. Our main priority of our 5-year plan is how we're maintaining what we currently have.
But you can't paint yourself into a corner and say, we're going to do this and this and this, because you don't have the money.
Don't have the
We don't even have it appropriated or even talked about X amount of funds. There is no wheel tax. And like Bob said, that's going to be the first step, is taking a look at how short we are. But I think the commissioners, I think you're doing your job. I think you're looking at a plan, not just a pot of money and going to go spend it willy-nilly or dump it here or whatever there. And I think that's been kind of a misconception there on that. And Ben, I know you're really on top of this here. And Bob was right here. We need to take, as a council, we need to come up, if we're going to go with this, how much funds is going to be available. Because you can't do a budget unless you know how much money you're going to have. You can't do it.
No, I can build you a plan if you give me $10 million a year, if you're only gonna give me $2 million.
So I think until we get to that point where Bob said was a great first step on, if we're going to be short, what are we going to need? How much are we going to need? Then we start looking at where that next great source of funds is going to come from. And that's going to be the additional gas tax, whether it's going to be a wheel tax down the road or whatever there. But that's going to be a council decision on how much money are we going to have to raise taxes if we get to that point with a wheel tax to generate your plan? And you can't put a plan together until you know what money is going to be available.
Thing I do every year, I go to Susan on my budget. I said, what's our receipts? Where are we at?
And council, jump
I
in here.
budget accordingly.
If I'm wrong, say so, but this is the time, jump in on this one.
Well, the only thing I'm gonna say is County Road 12, that could be on your plan right at the top. It's second 35, you paved the wrong side of Waterloo on 35, I will tell you that.
No, he
And there's
didn't.
There's County Road 17, there's County Road 45, there's County, you name it.
Ben, I know it's fair to say the state mandates the 5-year plan for you, correct? That's something you have to do. And you realistically know that once you get past about 2.5 years, those other 4-year and 5-year numbers are just not
I do it every
realistic.
year.
I just went back and looked at something, we do budget numbers for our business. And I looked at something we did in 2018. And when I looked at what the real numbers were in 22 and 23, I laughed. I thought, boy, and I was doing, when I get to the 5-year plan, I'm putting a stupid number in there just to protect us so they don't come back and go, you guys didn't give us this idea. And we encourage them to renew it every year, just like you do. So really realistically, in your plan, the next 2 years is it kind of got to, but it's going to change. Yeah, the variables change.
You're going to plan the whole county out the way you're wanting. That is a major job.
Yeah.
To do that and get all that funding for each road. If you want true dollars, everything's different. Just like I said, as we don't keep up, our roads deteriorate further. They are going into a full reconstruction project then, instead of just patch, surface, mill. Once that water starts getting that subsoil, subbase, ruin it, that changes your whole
Absolutely.
Your whole atmosphere. And that's why I said we got a lot of infrastructure, guys. People just don't understand what we have.
I want to move this conversation along here, but I think we got both bodies agreeing, commissioners, that if the council gives you X amount of dollars, you're going to have a plan for those X amount of dollars. And we'll bring it back here to the council because it'll have to have approval on the funds.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I don't think we can do much better than that. Is anybody disagreeing on that? All right, I want to go back and we'll finish up here on the additionals here. We voted on the 1.3 million for Bridge 17. That passed 6-1. We are now at the $150,000 for the St. Joe Sewer Project for an additional there on the ARPA funds. Do I have a motion for approval on that? Okay, Rick Collins and a motion approval. Bill Van Wyk, second. Susan, would you do a roll call?
Yes. Collins?
Yes.
Prosser? Dembski?
Yes.
Kraft?
Yes.
And Wyk?
Yes.
Ring?
Yes.
Yard?
Yes, passes 7-0. And the last one is $604,989.89 for jail chiller repair or purchase. Could be less, don't know, but that's the amount being requested. Do I have a motion for approval on that? Amy Prosser, motion to approve. Second? Second, Bill Van Wyk.
I do have a problem with that because I've heard two other numbers besides that, so I'm not going to vote yes for a number that we already are saying is higher than 250 or 500, so I'm going to vote no.
We don't have that number,
Yeah,
the
so it either needs to
presentation
wait.
given.
I'm not going to appropriate money for, we don't know.
I understand what you're saying there, but what about making an amendment to the motion and anything that's not spent on the chiller be returned to the ARPA funds? That way they can, do what they have to do, and if it's 100,000 less, they put that back in the ARPA funds.
Well, and
Well,
then you'd have
that's
to
what
come
would
back.
have to happen because I have to be able to
Now, let's make it clear in the
detail it
motion.
out. Okay.
But if it was returned to the ARPA fund, then Bill, you'd have to come back and tell us exactly where you're going to plug it in. It's just not, you've got $100,000 to spend.
No, it goes, yeah,
Whatever.
he's got to come back to us and
That's
say this
correct.
is.
Right.
So I'll make that amendment or that motion to amend the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve with an amendment now. And the amendment, Don?
Whoa, help me.
Okay,
Okay.
so the amendment is, Rick, would you restate your?
I would make a motion, I would make an amendment or a motion to amend this motion that any monies not spent on the jail chiller repair purchase be returned to the ARPA fund.
I'll second that.
Okay, sounds good. Any discussion? All right, let's vote on the amendment. Susan, would you call the roll, please?
Okay, so wait, who, Who
Rick made,
seconded?
Rick made the motion,
Rick and Rick.
and Rick Collins was second.
Oh, my
R
gosh.
and R going on.
You guys
R and
are,
R brothers.
okay, so Collins,
Yes.
Prosser, Dembski,
Yes.
Kraft, Van Wy, Ring,
Yes.
Yard.
Yes. Now we will vote on the original additional there for the $604,989. Okay, so
Motion as amended.
I'm just going to leave it at that. We're going to vote on the motion as amended here.
Perfect.
So, with never mind. Susan, you want to, do we have a motion? Did we get what? Yeah.
We have Amy
Okay.
and Bill.
Susan, would you call the roll,
So
please?
as amended,
Yes.
Collins, Prosser, Dembski,
Yes.
Kraft, Van Wy, Ring,
Yes.
Yard.
Yes, yes, yes. Passes 7-0. Okay,
I think y'all owe me a
your
steak
plan
dinner.
with one modification has been approved. Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you, thank you.
And I don't think we need to go to the wheel tax discussion. I think we had a very good wheel tax discussion on that there, so.
And real quick,
I got,
with it, I provided you all with a paper that looks like this because you wanted an update on cash flows for the building of the new highway.
yes.
So I have it detailed on this one.
And Bill,
This one. Jesus. This one.
but right now, we're pretty much on target with expenditures. There's no surprises or anything.
No surprise, and I will remind you that bid was a not to
what?
exceed. The bid was not to exceed, which means the bid is locked in at where it's at. If there's any additional cost, they have to bear that. FCI has to bear that. We do have some changes that we've made. We've got the money to do that. I think she's got a number here of money left in that account, 260,000 or something, soft cost. Was that right, Susan?
Say that one more time.
Where was that?
In ARPA?
No, it's in the highway.
They had, how much soft cost they had put back for soft costs?
Would that be the same as contingency?
Is that right, Bill?
Okay, so we had, originally, we had $464,634 in the ARPA put back, and we have spent some of that. So, let me see where I'm at. Got too many numbers. So after we pay some claims that I know of from January and February, there will be like $265,798 left in the contingency area of ARPA for the highway.
Yeah, and we're, according to the numbers I have back here, we're about 74% complete as far as money spent. And looking at the project, it's hard to guesstimate this, but that looks pretty close, that we're probably 74%. We are going to get delayed in moving in that facility due to this transfer switch. And that transfer, the electricity from the income line voltage to the generator, and they can't hook us up without that transfer switch. So we're supposed to get that in May. So we're looking at moving in June. Ben's going to try to get a head start on somebody's road work with the nice weather that we have. Get some of that done, some graveling on these gravel roads that need it dearly. And get a head start on that. And then when June comes, we get this project completed and they can go full bore on the move. So it's coming along. We got another meeting tomorrow at that facility, a construction meeting, and we'll see where we're at then. But it's looking pretty good other than that transfer switch.
I
Ben,
appreciate
will
the
you be able
updates.
to move some of your winter equipment out there pre-June? I mean, your snow plows and some of that.
The problem of it we got is that the final grade of the whole property, they're holding off till the last thing.
Twice.
And it's gotta come up, a lot of it's gotta come up about a foot. So that's moving, and then they just now completed a additional storm line, had to be ran around. That was done. We're gonna work in the back, starting here this next week, level that off, moving some of our trailers. We are gonna start to transition some of our things. We're also held up by the fence going in there, where a lot of our bunkers are gonna be built, put in, where the fence is gonna go. We wanna squeeze it towards the fence, so if we do, then they gotta operate off the neighbor's property. We can't do that. So it hasn't been ideal for us in a lot of ways, but we are planning and we are working. We will get there.
I know the council appreciates the updates. I know there's no hard, fast date for completion there, so I know you're doing everything you can. Main thing is, we just don't want to be surprised that there's going to be a shortage, an overage, or this or that. And if you just keep us surprised on that, that's all we ask.
Anticipating anything at this time. I think most of the major stuff is covered. And anything we come in now, I'm hoping that we will stay within our contingency costs. We've got to buy some shelving, some racking, get this come out of that. And, some of the soft costs, move in the office, we might there. And some of that stuff, as we move in and start getting established. As far as the major construction stuff, prices,
Good.
Bill, didn't you guys do some kind of a trade-off with that bridge to kind of offset our
Yeah.
staying there longer?
Yeah, we can stay as long as we need, basically. And that's covered by that bridge trade. So, yeah.
Good.
So we're good shape there. And like I say, it's moving along. You know, when you look at that project, just an example, you look at community corrections and what we spent on that project, and you look at that highway project, considering all the cost of living that has occurred in the last 3 years since community correction was built, you're going to be astonished at what we have out there for the money. For like $2 million more, it looks like there's 10 times more facility out there. And I don't know why that is particularly, but it just, there's a lot out there. When you see this thing, we'll have an open house and get everybody out there and go through it. When you see it, it's pretty amazing what is all there. And it's going to be very efficient. It's going to be something that's decent to work in to begin with. For that, those people have to work in that. It's going to increase our efficiency, and it's just going to make for an altogether better situation. And we're happy to have it happening.
Anybody else have anything for Bill or Ben?
County Road 56, when is it supposed to start?
Letting wet January 18th, and we just got the invoice from NDOT to pay our 20%. That gets paid, NDOT will start those. So we should have a construction meeting somewhere, I'm speculating, probably in March, April. Supposed to happen. The substantial completion date was October 20 something this year. I have it in front of me. But then the final completion that'll be all this evening.
I did.
Brooks was a little bit on that. Around 5.2 million. 1.6 miles of roadway. There's a cost for you guys having it.
One of the most expensive roads in DeKalb County.
Yeah. If you want to take a roller coaster right now with the freezing and thawing, County Road 56 is it.
And when we originally started that project, I think that we figured like 3.2 million. Estimate that. That should have done about 4 years, now we're out 7.
And pre-inflation.
So, okay, thank you, gentlemen, for both coming in. Appreciate your input. Thank you. Okay, moving along, we still have several things to do yet here. We have the next item would be on the Board of Health appointment change. Have a letter here from Dr. Mark Souter. It says DeKalb County Council. The Board of Health respectfully requests that you change your nominee to our board from Janice Arrington, registered nurse, to Mr. Thomas Hollaball so that we can retain him and Janice both for the Board of Health. The appointment regulations allow you to appoint a person with less specific criteria from the general public than, for example, Janice, who is an RN. If you'll kindly adjust your appointment in that fashion, we will be able to complete our board member requirements for the new guidelines from the state legislator. Respectfully, Mark Stouter, MD, Health Officer, DeKalb County Health Department. So basically, they're able to keep Janice on the board. They have an opening, and it can be a person with less qualifications. And I know it was discussed, I think, at the December meeting. I think Tom Hollaball's name was brought up for that, Rick.
Was, and I didn't get a chance to talk to Dr. Souter, but I don't understand what the issue is. I mean, we appointed somebody, and the commissioners are the other appointment. I would assume they could have appointed Tom Hollaball, but maybe they couldn't.
So anyway, we'll go ahead with the appointment here. We need a motion. Do we have a motion to appoint Tom Hollaball? Rick Ring?
I'll second it.
And Bob
Rick
Kraft?
Collins is over there.
Still Rick Collins.
Rick Collins.
I'll second it if he wants to.
I'm getting my Rick, first
so we
name
get
Rick
Rick and
mixed
Rick
up there, so.
You know, you got Rick and Rick, Amy and Amy, you know, it's just.
And I've done
what
that
is it?
before, so.
This thing, we're just B-boys.
So, okay, we have a motion by Rick Collins, and we have a second by Bob Kraft to appoint Tom Hollaball to the County Health Board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, you know, Susan is getting so close to roll.
Quit mumbling. Thank you. Okay, so we have that one there. Next, we have the approval of the county receipts, expenditures, and total compensation for 2023. And you all have a copy of it there for your viewing pleasure. This does require approval. Susan, do you have anything you want to interject on this?
We do it every year. You didn't approve it, it's already been posted, commissioners already approved it. Just need a vote.
Okay,
I move
thank
to
you.
approve.
Okay, we have a motion for approval by Bob Kraft, second.
Second.
Second by Bill Van Wy. All those in favor of approving the 2023 county receipt and expenditures and total compensation piece signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And I will be sending around this for your signature. All right, moving on. We have 3 annual reports, and you all have a copy of them. We have the annual report from the jail, the 2023 annual report from the jail. We have the 2023 Homeland Security report, and we have the 2023 Public Defender's Office report. These can be handled with one motion. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Rick Ring, R-I-N-G. We have a second by Bill Van Wy. Any discussion? Pardon?
That's VA&WE.
I would only interject, please look at that jail report. I know the commissioners have worked on a plan for a new jail, but there are a number of issues that we're continually trying to take care of in that jail. We've never been able to get the jail population down under its limit of 80. It's community corrections has helped us get it down as far as it is, but I don't want us to end up in the position like Allen County where their council refused to fund the new jail and it's gone back to court and essentially they're going to be forced into doing something, and we need to make sure that we keep that jail project moving. And again, it's not going to happen until after community corrections is paid for, but we're putting a lot of money, $600,000 into a chiller. We got an elevator problem. We got door jam problems. We got all kinds of plumbing problems. It needs to keep moving so that we're ready for it when it's time.
Okay, moving on. We would need to go, pardon?
Vote.
We need to vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who made the motion? Rick?
I did.
Rick and Bill. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor for the approval of the 3 annual reports from the jail, Homeland Security, and Public Defender's Office. All those in favor of approving the report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Reports are approved. We need to go back now to the biogas tax abatement on the discussion. And again, going to need some help walking through this from Don and Bill.
So you either have to accept that or exhibit C, or come up with a different.
Okay, Amy, that 10%, that was the part that we talked about last year on that there, that the committee approved. Now we need to get the council to approve it there. So do we have a motion to do the 10% for 10 years abatement there?
And just to clarify, this was Amy, was it the second time or the third time that we've used this form?
Second, because the first was with
Rathburn.
Angie.
Yeah, with Rathburn.
She was our guinea pig.
So, prior to us having this form, everything was just subjective. There was no criteria as to what was to be abated, dollar amounts to be abated for how many years. So we tried to come up with something that gave us some objective criteria. That criteria is still, in our case, somewhat subjective because we chose those, we chose that this many points got you 7 years or this many points got you 10 years. So that can all still change. So that's still all an opinion for the council. And we can go back then, once we've kind of made up our mind what it's going to be, go back and adjust this form. But you want to be, and I think Dave brought it up when we initially were voting on this, whatever we do, we want to be consistent. And the state has given us the ability to make changes kind of at our whim. 3 years at 50% or 10 years at something or other. And if we're not consistent from requester to requester, we're going to get ourselves in trouble. So whatever we do, we just need to be consistent, like he was suggesting before.
Thanks, Rick.
So
Appreciate the comments there. Are we ready to vote on this? The approval?
So this is to accept the recommendation of the committee for 10% abatement for 10 years.
Correct.
I move that we accept the recommendations.
We have a motion by Bill Van Wy to accept the recommendation. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Rick Ring seconded that. So, okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the 10% 10-year abatement there. All those in favor of vote of favor of this signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Aye. So it passes 6-1. Now, the third piece on this here is we have to vote on the declaratory resolution, confirmatory resolution. Do we need to read this? So it's just, we're going to vote whether we accept it or not. Okay, do we have a vote, do we have a, yeah, just one second. Do we have a motion here to accept the confirmatory resolution?
So moved.
Okay, so we have,
A second.
and we have a second there by Bill Van Wy. All those in favor of the motion of accepting the confirmatory resolution for the creating of an environmental revitalization area and personal property tax abatement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion is passed, 6-1. So that should have us done with the IGBD biogas abatement there.
Okay, here's a single piece of paper.
Couple of other things here. Okay. Susan, you want to talk about the SharePoint guide here?
Yes, so in the back of your packets, you have two staple packets that look like this. This is a new SharePoint with Microsoft 365. Your council packets will be moving to this and not the current area that you log in to get them. So, yes, it's going to be amazing. So within now, prior to the next meeting, you will all receive an email from our IT that will have like an invite link. Then these are the processes you take to get there. It'll be very more user-friendly and set up a little different so that you can easier.
It's part of the Microsoft 365 that the county's gone to.
Hire technical assistants.
Well, for Bill and I, that's for
I'm
sure.
gonna say, I still haven't got the old one yet. I mean, I just
And
get
I wasn't insinuating for them.
It should.
Sure you were.
No, myself.
Bill just,
Okay.
Bill just
We
got
can
rid of
help.
his
Usually means
phone,
I need
so-
help.
I just got my phone under there. I don't even know where my phone is.
Don says if he can use it, anybody can use it, so.
It will be much different. It will just be easier. And once you get it, if you need help, then come in, and if I can't help you, then IT can help us, and it's very nice.
Bring in
Anything
trees
else,
or
Susan?
assistants.
I know we've got Bob piece here yet to talk about here on the RFQ.
No, I do not have anything else.
Okay, we have a request for quote, an RFQ is the acronym, and this is something that we talked about earlier, having a study done on benefits and wages, and it's a request for quote. Bob, you know, you're pretty well versed on this, if you'd
Well,
like to.
actually, I got sick and was, I think, in the hospital or something when you guys had your meeting, so I'm gonna let Amy, you guys went through, and there was several emails that went out over and over to process this, but you met on it in person and talked about this RFQ, and you guys were all good with it. Rick was in on the email chains. Did you?
Well, it came out of the issue with the one individual in the health department and making sure that our wage scale was appropriate. So that's what started it.
So this won't be an expenditure of money until we decide, unless we decide to hire another company. This is just a request for a proposal basically to a couple of other companies. And we need to make sure everybody's comparing apples to apples. That's why this is kind of specific.
So we made it specific, and then at the bottom, you can see that it has to be, each component has to be
Quoted individually.
individually so that everybody can compare it. But the problem is the committee meets on Friday, and if we wait until March for the full council to decide whether the committee can move forward with getting the quotes, there's no way we're going to get information back in time for you guys to use for budgets. We're already pushing it, whether we're going to get anything or not.
So we just need to see if this is appropriate for all of you guys. We just need to get this sent out to get quotes back.
We do need a vote on this one.
Yes.
So,
Just need approval that this RFQ is good enough.
Have that kind of information already through,
Not with
oh,
benefits.
not with benefits? It's
We're
just,
trying to put
just
it all
salary?
together, just to give an idea.
Okay.
Because when we're looking at department requests for position increases or reclassifications, what we have, let's say health department, isn't maybe what that person in Noble County has. Or they're not working, the 35 hours seems to throw a wrench in some of our calculations. So just getting it so it's very transparent this is also what the benefits are giving you with your job, in addition to your.
It would have,
Departments
if we had
requiring
something
changes
like
right now?
this back when we went through the major increase we made for the nurses, it would have helped us. Because while that, part of that was absolutely necessary, I think we probably went a little too far in another area. And so this kind of helps bring it back to reality.
Also, I got a question. Will this help in, one of the things that will come up budget time again is part-time on the prosecuting and, the other side, health insurance for them. Will this be a clue to help us out on that too, whether we approve or disapprove?
Now,
We won't have
and,
it.
well,
we have on our
it
agenda
could,
already.
it could, but it really is, and I don't want to step out of turn here, but in talking with other counties that have addressed this issue, our problem is we call the attorneys working in the public defender's office, we call it part-time. And that, everything is keyed off that term part-time. Other counties, in order to get around that, have called them professionals, professional consultants, and they come up with a different term just to get around the part-time moniker.
I think even a contract employee to get.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, that's something that I think the
But this-
council has to address.
But this is what we're addressing now. I don't want to get off another subject. I just
Right.
asked if this would help with us. So this
Might
is
help us-
comparing.
It might help us find out what other counties are
Yeah,
paying.
okay. All right, let's move on.
Okay, I need a motion to allow them to proceed with this RFQ request for quote. So do we have a motion to proceed, allow them to proceed for the request for quote?
I'll make the motion.
Bob made the motion, Bob Kraft. Do we have a second? Have a second by Amy Prosser. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose. Motion is carried, so Bob, Amy, your group can proceed here. Does anybody from the council have anything else to bring up before the group today? Does anybody from the audience have anything? Catherine, you're the audience. Do you have
chased
anything
him
you want to
away.
bring up there? So, okay, just real quick, our next meeting is March 13th at 8:30 a.m.
8:30.
8:30. And I never remember a council meeting ever falling on Valentine's Day. So on
Did
being.
last year.
It did last year.
Did it last year? Yes. I'll be darned. Well, all right, so.
That was a whole year ago, Dave.
That was a long time ago, it was. So I just want to say on behalf of the county council, it is my esteemed privilege and pleasure to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, and that includes my sidekick here, the rural king of sweetness, Bill Van Wyne. So,
Candy there. Everyone grab your candy.
do we have a motion?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn
We
this
have a
meeting.
second.
I will second that.
We are gone. Thank you for a great meeting, everybody.